Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Double Stream Time, Football Inc. and Spurs Talk Show. We hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things that you love to do with those that you love to do them with. And we hope that that will include sharing the next hour with Johnny and I. Johnny's back. Big show yesterday. More news out today. We've got some more details from a Football London article regarding QSI's relationship with France. It seems to be quite toxic. And that, of course, might play into certain Tottenham-related hands. And then bad news for Tottenham, or maybe good news, depending on how you look at it. INEOS owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is doing more cost-cutting. The chairman, the new part owner of Manchester United, is looking to cut ties with Tottenham Hotspur over a 5-year deal. He's looking to get out early. The renewal certainly on or off the table. And what does that look like? We're going to talk about that right now. We're here with Johnny. Johnny, how are you, my man? Good to see you.
I'm all right. It was a marathon streaming day yesterday. I almost felt streamed out. But listen, look, you know,
like a dry river.
Yeah, you got to grab the news while you can. I mean, funny, how we were mentioning INEOS and Jim Ratcliffe only yesterday, and bang, all of a sudden, it's in the news. You know,
madness, mate, isn't it? It's almost like people listen to you and I talking. Last year, you had the. Here's 11, 12 different ways in which the loopholes can be exploited. Within 48 hours, one of them is taken advantage of. Yeah, whatever. We'll take it. Let's find out what's going on, shall we, mate? Before we get into it, guys, please do us the solid favors that you always do. Smash the like button on both channels. Hit the subscribe on Football Inc. I'm guessing most of you that are here via the Spurs Talk Show will be, I hope, already subscribed. Although actually, having said that, 35%, 40% of people that watch it regularly are not. Hit the notification bell on both and drop some comments. Keep the comments coming in. Let us know your thoughts. We'll be asking some polls and things with ones and zeros. We'll play the ones and O's games throughout the show here. But make sure you do get over to Football Inc. It's Johnny and I's new venture. And look, if you love Johnny, then this is the way that you repay him for all of the hard work he puts in around the community, because he doesn't. This is his, his ability to get into the YouTube thing.
This is my thing with Sean. Yeah, I mean, listen, look, we want to. Obviously, at the moment, there's a lot of news about Spurs with the Qataris and everything else going on, the change for Tottenham and all the rest of it. Get on over there, and if you can hit the subscribe button, we're trying to hit 1,000 subs. We've been very generous. People have got us up to 900. We want to hit that 1,000 mark. So if you're watching now, it's exactly the same show, but on Football Inc. And if you're watching on Football Inc., hit the like. If you're not a member or a subscriber of Spurs Talk Show, then get over and hit that button as well. But don't forget to comment. The comments help the algorithm in the section. So you got a question for Sean and I, hit the button and ask whatever you want. So let's go.
We've got a question. We've got a question straight out of the bat here from Joshua saying, Sean and Johnny, do you feel QSI will be a minor investment for Spurs until it's a full takeover, or would they pay $3.5 billion for a full takeover? Johnny, I'll let you go for this one, mate.
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's possible, Joshua, because QSI are too entrenched at the moment with their investment in PSG. They sold 13% to an American investment company. And we'll get on to in a minute all the problems the Qatari owners have had there in France, especially in Paris. So, no, I would see it as a staggered investment. He must do. So, so I would say 10% is the most that they can hold, whilst not affecting their ownership of PSG. So I would expect a staggered, if what was reported 2 years ago that QSI are looking to get out of France due to the collapse of the TV deal and move into the Premier League, where rich pickings and
the only market in European football that is expected to grow substantially, and that's not even including the future, like pretty much obvious move towards the Netflix for sports.
Correct.
But if you want extra TV money,
listen, if you want a sports wash, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar needs to get involved, and they're not really doing it in Paris. So the Premier League is the way to go. But I would suggest that if it did happen, as I said on an earlier stream, I reckon it would be 3 to 5 years. Look, we're all cynical because we know, the protests. It's come out around the protests. It's also come out at the time of the season ticket renewals, and it's not a new story per se, but there's more meat on the flesh. The Guardian have reported it. Richard Keys, that well-known reporter of BS, and speaking trash, has reported it. So we can take it with a pinch of salt.
He is in the area though, Johnny.
Correct.
He is out there, right? He's based in Qatar.
Yeah. I'm trying to give us, some balance here, that we're not 100% carried away. I've not gone out and bought myself a Qatari flag or any Qatari shorts. I'm not going there for my holiday. And
another little product. I see the scarves, the change for Tottenham scarves are all in the rage at the moment. Maybe they could bring out another line in Qatari flags.
Yeah, no, but listen,
sell a few hundred of them outside the next protest.
So for me, I would just like a good owner that's going to invest in the football team. That's my first and foremost. The rest is extras for me. I would prefer that if it wasn't Qatar and another entity with a lot of money, but it is what it is until it's actually concrete. As I say, until the Sheikh, I keep forgetting his name now, Sheikh Nazir. What's his name?
The PSG guy?
Yeah.
El Khalifi?
El Khalifi. Until El Khalifi's stood there holding up the shirt with the 1 billion number on his back, then no, I'm not going to believe any of it. But look, it's gathering pace, and there's more stuff going on, and bits and pieces, and we'll get into that in a second, Sean. Let's go with the story that's been added today.
We're going to in 2 seconds, Johnny. I just want to quickly get your take, because you're a massive advocate of the Spurs Youth Revolution. And last night, I don't know if people saw it. I subscribed to a wonderful little channel called Bing Sport that basically gets you access to everything for like 60 quid a year. I don't know if there's any problems with it. Some people have said in the past to me, stop promoting it. But I think it's wonderful. It gives you access to everything. And I managed to watch I had the Club Brugge game against Atalanta, which was an absolute banger on one half of my screen, and on the other I had Leyton Orient against Wrexham. And I just want to give you a couple of seconds here to wax lyrical about your boy, mate, Jamie Donley, because this guy is some player. Like, the quality of the goal that he put in last night, arguably, in terms of technique, the technique to be able to smash that ball, keep it low, and drill it bottom bins from a looping a half cleared corner. We've got some player on our hands there, and he's clearly above the standard of League One. What do you think the short-term future should hold for Jamie Donley? Should we bring him back in, or should we, if Leyton Orient don't get promoted, do you send him somewhere else in the Championship, or do you think he might be ready? What's your take on him? He's built, he's big, he's a big lad as well. It's not like he's, he doesn't look young in his frame, either does he, Johnny?
Well, listen, look, I've met his dad a few times, spoken to him, going down to the under-18s, under-21 games. And, he's a level-headed kid. His dad is pretty focused. They're Tottenham through and through. And for me, head and shoulders, Jamie Donley was the best player in our academy before the emergence of Micky Moore, who I didn't see till he was like 15. We'll talk about him another time. But Jamie, for me, has played in just about every position other than goalkeeper at the club. Literally. He
like Archie Gray.
Well, no, more than Archie Gray. I mean, he's literally, I think he's played as a false 9. He's played on the wings. He's played as a 10. He's played as an 8. And for some reason had him playing at left back, and he didn't disgrace himself there. Look how well he played at left back. I was fuming, I've got to be honest with you. But his dad said to me that he needs to go out on loan, because I thought he'd be integrated into the squad. And I thought if any player was ready to go into the squad, it was Jamie Donley.
It's interesting that we kept Will Lancashire Not that I have any issues with Will Lancashire. I think he'll be a good player as well. But it's interesting that we kept him around, and we kept, you know, a couple of the others around. Ajayi, those sorts of guys hung around and managed to get some first team minutes this year. But Jamie Donley didn't when he was. I think you're correct when you say the standout player that season in that youth academy product. So I wonder why they made the decision to let him sort of go out and get first team men's football, and yet the others didn't.
They or
Ange, whoever. I don't know. I don't know who's making those decisions. But
I'm looking, I'm thinking, fantastic. Jamie's in the squad. I'm all excited. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for him. I'm buzzing for his dad. And then I see him play at left back. Killed it. You know, hard worker, really good player, sweet left foot, and boy, can he create a chance. I mean, he's got it all. I'm just a bit shocked that, you know, when I see, look, I love Callum Oluwasi, Ajay. There's lots of players there, you know, at the club, academy level that could really do well. But I was completely baffled as having a great pre-season, out of position, and then he gets sent away. Saying that, you know, he's managed by CAA base, and they are. Would they
have some sort of influence over the decision of what to do with him?
Well, no, but I think they would talk it over with them, and they would decide what would be best for him and for his career, and maybe. In hindsight, had he stayed without those injuries, he wouldn't be seen. I mean, I said to you the other day, when will be the next time you see Mikey Moore? Now the players are back. I don't believe you'll see Mikey Moore again this season unless there's another injury crisis. That's my feeling. But what I'm saying is, I think Jamie Donley and the family and his agents did the right thing, as much as it upset me, to go out on loan. You know, it took him a little while to find his feet. You know, those early games, he wasn't, you know, really wasn't doing it. But now he's on a roll, and he's the lifeblood of that team. Him and Josh Keeley.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not ignore Josh Keeley. That guy looks a real.
Yeah, one goal, one assist. One goal, one assist already this season, right? You know, come on, let's be serious. You know. The kid's fantastic. Another
scored more than Richie, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, look, I would have liked to, again, as another player, we need to make sure he's tied down to a long contract.
Because I saw you tweet that.
Yeah, he could be absolutely anything. And but for me, Jamie Donley has to come back next season. Where will he play? There's the thing.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Where not where will he play? You're someone, I know you and Dave spend more time probably than most in the online space, keeping an eye on what's going on there. Obviously, by proxy, from your admiration of the youth, I've fallen in love with them myself. But you're closer to that level than I am. What's the, in your opinion, what is the best position for him?
I would say 10 for me, mate. A 10, or just tucked in behind the striker. But he's so adaptable. You know, listen, it's so rare to have a quality left foot like he has. He really does have a quality left foot. I mean, I just think he's a brilliant player. My problem is, you know, with the club investing in, you know, the youth in the middle of the park there, and the desire for immediate gratification from the fan base, i.e. sign another big name player. Will that mean that Jamie won't get an opportunity and he'll end up having to, you know, to go out on another loan somewhere? But I think if he does go out on loan next season, and he's not going to get a chance, it's got to be the Championship for me to step up a level. I just think if you had a Pochettino at the club, this kid would be going nowhere. That's my opinion, and I'll stick with it. The vision for the goal against Manchester City was fantastic. Some of his crosses for an assist this season and the goals he scored are great. But the technique for that left-footed volley last night was just
like I say, arguably, I think it's a better goal. It doesn't look as good, obviously. It doesn't look as. No. But if you're like a technical, if you're someone who keeps your eye, like if you really value technique. You could very easily see half the players in the Premier League balloon that, you know, into Rosette, right? And yet he kept it kept his head over the ball. Didn't have a hell of a lot of space. It
was crowded, wasn't it?
A lot of players would probably even just take a first touch, and he went, "Nah, I got this." And it's an important goal for Leyton Orient, so it wasn't like it was a meaningless moment in the game. They got them the lead, and they're in the hunt for a promotion place. So
fantastic, they deserve it. I mean, listen, all I know is Phil Foden has scored that. They would have been raving about it, or anyone out of the in the top leagues. And it doesn't matter where you score it. That is a quality goal. And that's shone. I mean, there will be people queuing up, I reckon. If he doesn't stay at the club, there'll be people queuing up to take him out on loan in the summer. I'd really
would you give him to a promoted team that gets into the Premier League, like a Leeds or something? We seem to have a good relationship with them, don't we? So maybe they could handle and I think the Leeds have got a fairly decent track record of developing our players or taking them off our hands at the end of it,
Yeah, Manor Solomon's doing okay. There's we've got Vuskovic, we've got a few players to come back, but he excites me. He excites me the most. I mean, Mikey Moore is I call him as a generational talent because the fact that he's still not 18 until August, people forget. He's not 17, just about to turn 18. He's playing for the club. He was the youngest player to score for the club. So anyway, quality.
Yeah, look, lots of promising prospects coming through, and we've got a lot of. As much as people think I always defend Daniel Levy on everything, if people that do watch this channel know that I hold his feet to account for a lot of the mistakes he makes, and also I don't give him credit because I don't subscribe to this notion that the buck stops at the top. I think it's lazy analysis where basically you're abdicating any accountability for anyone else's role, success or failure. And I think that's just that's reductive and it's boring. And when it comes to the youth transition, which I am really, really, as Johnny and Dave and everybody else is that very, very optimistic about, I don't give that credit to Daniel Levy. I give him the credit for listening, but I give that credit to Fabio Paratici, as you do, Johnny, I believe, 100%.
Right? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Because look, we weren't paying. There was a cult, that we believed you don't play the kids, you don't give them too much too soon, it can ruin them. Well, that's all very well and good, and it's admirable. But when the rest of of the football community are paying top money for the kids, we were losing kids on our doorstep. From our own borough, going to Arsenal, to Chelsea, to West Ham. It's galling to see these players now.
Was that because we weren't paying them enough? Was that because we were like basically living by the rules essentially?
Well, listen. Well, it's not rules. You can make up your own rules about how much you pay a kid.
Can you? I'm not sure you can. Well, not officially, right? You can't pay them. You can't give them.
Yes, but there's ways around it, Sean.
No, I know. That's what I mean. But there's ways around it. But technically, in terms of
you can employ family, you can. There's all sorts of things you can do. Okay, to sweeten it. But when they signed their first pro contract, I mean, listen. When what's his name, Romain Mundle left out of contract, I think that sort of woke a few people up. And suddenly they broke that wage ceiling, and suddenly you saw a whole flurry of Spurs youngsters signing new long contracts, which was great to see, because we don't want to see more of Noni Makiweni, plying his trade. I'm not saying he would have played 100% for us in the team.
It's interesting, mate. You know what? You know how people get quite present tense with their takes, right? People that as soon as Noni Madueke sort of burst out of the traps for Chelsea this year, everyone's saying, "Oh, this geezer is absolutely sensational." If you listen to Chelsea fans now, after what happened when they lost against Brighton, for example, you see the biggest Chelsea fans. I am thinking about this. Yeah, Madueke is the winger, isn't he? Yeah. So I heard all of the all of the kind of bigger Chelsea fans basically going, all you non-Chelsea fans, and even those donuts within the Chelsea fan base that think that the sun shines out of this guy's ass, he ain't all that. But there's a lot of revisionism that goes on within the fan base of things where the grass is always greener, where everyone looks at Tottenham through a lens of things are horrific, things are terrible, everywhere else is run so much better, but they don't really keep their finger to the pulse on what's really happening in other clubs as closely as they do at Tottenham. And Madueke, the sort of the revisionism that's going on with him, flip-flopping from, you know, legend, genius, top one of the best 5 dribblers in the Premier League to suddenly he's nothing. It's quite
full fluctuate.
I just find it's a perfect example of the human psyche, right? Of what have you done for me lately?
But the youth for me is hugely important. It's something that's we've failed at repeatedly at Spurs for decades. I've got to be honest with you. You know, we produced Harry Kane. You know, I'm not going to include Winks and Skip. We produced them. They got us a little bit of money, but I'm talking about top quality. You know, I want to be at the stage where we're producing so many kids that even the ones that don't make our club can be sold, like Chelsea, for 20-30 million pounds, which is going to give us another revenue stream to invest in buying the 100 million and the 70 and the 80 million pound players that the club often crying out for.
Plus the amortization, like the money goes straight onto your books on the exactly right. So listen, lots and lots of positives. In fact, on that note, mate, let's just finish off the transfer kind of rumour mill, and then we are going to come to the QSI story because it is really interesting. The takes that are being spoken by people that are close to the QSI group, it adds a little bit more amplification to this narrative. Also, we've got to talk about INEOS, but we are going to just quickly, because we're on the topic, talk about some of the transfer news, views, and clues out for today, mate. Because we are looking forward to hopefully a youth revolution at Tottenham, but you can't win a trophy, or you're very unlikely to win a trophy if you have kids everywhere, right? You need to sprinkle in some maturity. And I look at our squad and I look at the older senior players, and I think that's probably the area where there's more frustrations than anywhere else. And it's probably arguably time to move and sunset some of them and move them on elsewhere. But in regards of more senior players coming in, here are the transfer news, views, and clues of the day. And Johnny, I spoke to you about a couple of these names before. I don't know too much about them, but I have done a little bit of quick Y-Scout analysis. I might say things that some of you will go, if you are familiar, will go, that's not a good reflection of him. And if so, fair be it, because I'm not entirely convinced that I am that familiar. But here's one for you. Gianluca Mancini, Roma player, 28 years old, very experienced, a solid centre-back by statistics, Johnny. 18 million euros is the asking price, 15 million quid. The story here is that we're just trying to look for a little bit more depth, a little bit more kind of, I don't know, a little bit more, like security, I guess, with regards our centre-back options. He gets paid £105,000 per week over in Roma. And from what I saw, if I'm entirely honest, and again, don't know if this is fair or not, the stats suggest it's probably somewhere near the truth, but doesn't look like he is a sensational defensive old school centre back. Looks to me more like Clement Longley type vibes. Good with the ball, drawing the player, like passing the ball out from the back, that sort of stuff. But in terms of the rest, not really sure. I wouldn't like. He's a little bit chalk and cheese to someone like a Kevin Danzo, who's more of like a old school player. Do you know much more? Do you know much about Gianluca Mancini, Johnny?
No, I thought at the beginning he might have been Roberto Mancini's son.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't even know. I didn't read that. He might be some relation. He might be some relation to Mancini.
For me, look, I'm not interested in these make weights. Okay, I want competition. I'm not going to say the word backup because backup is forbidden, right? We want competition, and if we're going to sell Radu, or we're going to sell Ben Davis, or we're going to sell Micky van der Ven or Kuti, then you've got to replace him with quality. And if we're talking replacement, give me some hoisin sauce from Bournemouth, and or give me Hincape, or give me that level. I think right now. Yeah, I just think right now, or Gay, I just think right now they're throwing names out there, just to complicate things. I think there will be quite a few players. I think there will be players sold this summer. Bissouma might be one of them. Going to be hard to get rid of Richie because he's not had any game time. Maybe Saudi.
Is he going to want to go to Saudi, though? I don't know if he wants to. It's a World Cup year, isn't it, next year? So he wants to play.
Yeah. So look, I think that these are just being thrown out there at the moment. I do believe, though,
could be any Paratici. Could it be a Paratici, like, you know, an option from him? Like, he seems to be the Italian league.
Yeah, but Fabio knows his onions, doesn't he? All right.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, if he's going to pick an onion,
he knows his marinara sauce for sure.
Yeah, he's a man that knows his onions, and I just think, you know, he's looking for value, but quality. And look, the remit will be
50 million quid for Hoysing, by the way.
25 and under, 25 and under. You know, quality at 25. I don't believe 25 is classed as a school kid. I don't know what.
Well, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Like, what does experience require, Johnny?
Well, experience can come in all forms, can't it? I mean, you can have a very mature. I mean, look at Archie Gray. Have you ever seen an 18-year-old that mature who's a number 6 playing at centre back? He looks like he's played there all his life. You know, he's probably played more games than just about anyone in the league at 18, which I think is a massive mistake for his development, because he's still growing. 33 odd games. So no, I think if your maturity can come in all shapes and wins, I want winners. I know people get upset, you know, with the way Kuti behaves, but I like that. I like the way Højbjerg wants to come out there, a warrior. Whatever you may think of him, he was a warrior. Kuti is a warrior. You know, Porro wants to win every ball. Do you remember I was with you in that game against Luton? The fire in his belly when he won a tackle, screaming at the fans. That's what I love. That's
exactly. Pedro Porro loves that as well, doesn't he? He absolutely loves. He loves pumping up the crowd.
Exactly.
Those giant teeth.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think those are the characters we need more of. And you know, I love Sonny, but no one needs a hug and a cry at half time nowadays. You know,
some people do.
Yeah, well, some do. Some do. Maybe if they've been subbed. But I just want to see more grit and determination. So experience can be someone who's won a title, or someone's been at a successful club, which would mean not coming from Spurs. Obviously, you go on to success. And we can promise them, if you do come to Spurs, you can play for us for a couple of years and leave and win something.
Yeah, you're guaranteed. That should be part of the pitch. I've said this before. That should be part of the pitch. If you come and play for Tottenham, you are guaranteed to win a trophy, just not at Tottenham. But the second that you leave, wherever you go next is coming in. In terms of Mancini, mate, I mean, I don't know. Look, but he might be something to do with the ex-City boss, Roberto Mancini. I don't know. If anyone can do some research for us and let us know. But I didn't read that. I don't know too much about him. I don't really watch too much Serie A. So I'm going to move on. But that's the story there. After that, we've got another one. There's another name that, again, I'm not that familiar with. I should be. But Pablo Barrios, Atletico Madrid player.
I know Barrios. Where was he before? Sean? The name rings a bell.
No, he's 21 years old. I think you're thinking of the different Barrios that was a striker in. Might have been for Roma, actually, back in the day. There might be a different Barrios. Again, this particular version, 21 years old, plays in a double pivot, but is probably more of a box-to-box player from what I can see. Apparently, according to the report, £62 million is the asking price. And look, from what I can gather, looking at the Wyscout, and again, not that familiar with him, so fill in the blanks, guys, here. But I would say that he's like a very technically crafty player, and he looks very good when other teams operate the high press. He looks like someone that doesn't struggle or is in any way encumbered by the stresses of being put under pressure, which I think is useful. It's probably only useful. It's useful for Tottenham in this model. It's probably only useful in 10% of the games, because most teams allow us to have the ball and are happy to sit off a little bit. So, I mean, look, £62 million is a lot of money, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. But for me, one of the biggest problems for Spurs right now is trying to play through the press, and we can't seem to hold on to the ball. That's right. That's the one, Gary. I knew that was.
Big up, Gary. Big up, Gary. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, we struggle. We're not really press resistance at the moment. We're trying to play through the press, playing out from the back, and it's breaking down in midfield all the time. We need to do a show, Sean, this week or next on the midfield conundrum, because it really is a conundrum. Where we've had so many permutations in that midfield. And
I'm not happy with the midfield options that we have at all, by the way.
I don't think we've struck on a winning combination yet. I really don't.
Too much versatility, no specificity. You know, there's none. Like we don't have anyone that can. I mean, maybe we do in Archie Gray, but we haven't seen it. And everybody else is a bit of everything. And I just think that, you know, I understand Ange thinks that his system doesn't require a 6. I get it. If you're going to double pivot,
I don't get it.
I don't really. I mean, look, I think that the argument that the sixes can be used by the fullbacks, but in actual fact, when you have 65% possession, you see people like Pedro Porro pressing the keeper, and so they're not really operating as a 6. They're operating as almost like a 10. So you have like 2, and then almost like it's like a 2-7-1 at times, right? It's madness, you know. And I think that like the amount of times you get carved through because you haven't got someone that can just sit and protect.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to some other version where the fullbacks overlap and do their traditional model, then you have nobody that can protect. And to me, Bentancur's not good enough. Bissouma's not good enough. As much as I like Lucas Berghvall, I saw and I have seen a couple of times now that I think the peripheral vision thing that we
I think he's an 8. No, I don't think he's a 6. I don't think he's a 6. I really don't.
Berghvall.
Yeah, but listen, look,
Yeah,
I've got to be honest with you. You know, tell Man City that they don't need a 6. You know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Look what happens when they lose that man for even a couple of weeks. They just become a different team, right?
Yeah, 60 for me is I'm still absolutely baffled. I've said this before. You know, have we had all these players back? We got Danso, right? Would it really be terrible to play Kuti Romero as a 6 in front of the back 4 to give us some stability?
Yeah,
I'd love to
I've been
see
saying that as well.
And so,
but that requires this notion that the back 3 model didn't work.
Well, no,
and I think it's madness.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here is that, you know, we know that Kuti loves to bring the ball forward anyway, and the ability to drop back into the pocket should Micky van der Ven, you know, go on one of his rampaging runs up front. I think it gives us more flexibility and more stability.
It allows our fullbacks to play the roles that they were supposed to be playing.
Correct.
Right? Udogie, Jed Spence, all of those guys, Pedro Porro, they are all better with wingbacks, and where they don't have to, you know, break their ass to get back because there's only 2 men back on the counter. And especially when you have people like Pape Sarr that can't keep hold of the ball.
And he's winning the ball in the middle of the park instead of making last-ditch tackles when there's no one left, you know, at the back. So, no.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that I've been calling for the Monster 6 for so long now. I'm bored of saying it, but in fact, let's move on from. I honestly don't know.
David Hanko's still available, by the way.
Hanko,
yeah, he's still available, isn't he? Not as a 6, but as a centre back.
I thought he left final.
No, he didn't.
Did he not?
He didn't.
No, he didn't in the end. Did he not? Oh, no. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought
he was going to Juve, right? He was going to Juve.
I thought it didn't happen. Okay. Well, yeah, David Hanko for me. Yeah, love that player. Yeah. I think he's such he's a future boss. Yeah, but in terms of Pablo Barrios, guys, I don't know enough about him. Sounds like Johnny doesn't know too much about him.
You just thrown these at me like that.
Yeah, no, I know. Listen, it is what it is. I mean, I had 10 minutes to look into them, and like I say, I took some takeaways, but not familiar too much with the guy.
He did the same as Lange. He did the same as Lange. 5 minutes looking at him, and that'll do. We'll try and sign him. Carlos kickable, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The rest of the names here are, or more familiar with us. Angel Gomez.
Yeah, love him.
The story's being recycled. Gomez and Jonathan David. Double pivot from double steal from Lille. Look, to me, I think that the Angel Gomez story, I think, is probably quite likely, but because it's typical Daniel Levy, right? He's on a free transfer. He's homegrown. He is a somewhat good player. And he's on, he won't command fortunes in the salary. But for me, I think that would piss me off.
He will on a free, Sean.
Yeah, but how much do you think he would cost in salary?
When you're on a free transfer, mate, there's a reason why Jonathan David and Angel Gomez.
I know. Jonathan David will cost a fortune in salary. I know that, but Angel Gomez, I can't imagine Angel Gomez is going to get paid 150 grand a week. I don't think he's that good.
His agents will be asking for not only that, they'll be asking for a sizable sign-on fee. And when you think that an Angel Gomez would probably go for 35, 40 million, not having paid too much, he is small, Angel Gomez, but he seems to be doing the business. He wouldn't be my first choice, but it's a Daniel Levy, Tottenham Hotspur super signing, no fee. Listen, Sean and I have always quite often questioned Jonathan David, but I think this year he's cemented his position as a quality striker, 2-footed, and he really is a threat. He's doing it in the Champions League. He's doing it at the highest level. And
I've changed my mind on him.
Yeah,
I spent the last 3 years saying don't get it, like all this raving and ranting. I don't understand how he gets the numbers. But in the last 12 months, every time I've watched the various games that he's involved in, and again, I don't really watch Ligue 1, but whenever I see him in the European or competitions and that he even international, when I stumble across the highlights this season, he seems to have upped his game. He seems to have been a little bit more well-rounded. And you know what? Another player that I clearly got wrong, for what it's worth, there, Johnny. I'm happy to own these things when I screw up. Serhou Guirassy is absolutely tearing it up. I think he's got 11, 12 goals in the Champions League already this season. Absolutely destroying it. And he was a player that I described as clumsy, and that his goal record the last season was accidental. And it looked like it was. But can you hate on Erling Haaland for being in the right place at the right time? Or is it accidental, or is it he understands positional football?
He's
right?
He's a good player. He's a good player. Just to say, Eltel, thanks for dropping in.
Appreciate you
enjoying the show. Obviously, Football Inc. is today. We're doing a lot of Spurs stuff, but in general, we'll be talking about all clubs, including Everton. Congratulations on the new stadium. Unfortunately, the test event didn't go quite to plan, getting beaten by Wigan. But hey, look, a stadium that people are saying, oh, it looks like a football stadium. Well, that's what normal stadiums are built like. They don't all have to look like spaceships and have to cater for concerts and stuff. But
it's a nice stadium, though. It's a nice looking stadium. It's a really nice looking stadium.
If you could tell us the video that we saw the other day that looked like Old Trafford with the water cascading through the roof.
It wasn't Old Trafford, mate. It looked more like Jumanji.
No, but I couldn't understand. Is that an old video that's recirculated? That's been recirculated,
I think so.
Or is it? Is that actually quite recently that leak? But good luck, and you got old Moisey back, and what a difference he's made, huh? What a manager! Unbelievable
turnaround of fortunes over there.
Ridiculed. I felt sorry for him. He was set up to fail at Man U. Let's be honest, he really was, because Fergie was never going to have someone just come in and make and carry on winning like all that he's done was nothing.
He's not really a Man United. Like Man United expect to play sensational football, and David Moyes isn't. He's just not that sort of manager, is he? He's pragmatic. He's someone that probably invests in like premium bonds.
Well, he's better than Dyche, and he's better than Dyche.
No, 100%. 100%. Now, listen, fair play to you, Eltel. There's actually two Eltels in the room today. We've got Eltel Cockerell as well.
Eltel Cockerell.
Good to see you. Good to see you as well, Jose. Hope you're okay, my man. But yeah, good luck to Everton. I think Tottenham and Everton have got a fairly nice little relationship. I think that the fans respect each other. It's nice. So yeah, in terms of Angel Gomez, mate, and Jonathan David, listen, I'd be all over Jonathan David. I think he'd be a really good addition, but it's going to cost a lot of money in wages. Angel Gomez, not so much. I think someone mentioned it there in the comment section that he's too short. I often call out the
bloody heightist. We got a heightist in the room.
Yeah. Well, listen, mate. I mean, yesterday we managed to offend. I think in the space of like 75 minutes, we offended the Jews who don't want Qatar, the Arabs who don't like the fact that there's that consideration. I think we went after women towards the end. I think we went after Filipinos at the start, and I think we went after the NHS as well. So
hang on a minute. We didn't. All we said was, I mean, tell me, guys, can we do a poll? A 0 or a 1, right?
Hang on, we're not. What we're going after Eastern Europeans now as well? Come on, Johnny, for God's sake.
No, we're going to do a poll, right? We're going to do a poll, and what we're going to say is, right, should women's goals be reduced? Because our argument is most goalkeepers in Europe, right, are around about 6'2" to 6'5". Okay, big goal, big guy, right? And then you go to the women, and on average, they're about 5'5". Mary Earps, who's the biggest of the lot, is 5'8". If you saw Spurs had signed a goalkeeper that was 5'8", you'd be having kittens, right? You'd be having.
All right, so smash a 1 if women's football could benefit from smaller goals, and smash a 0 if that is an offensive inequality based outrage.
Because I don't think it is, because I think
of course it's not. It's common sense, but let's find out what the chat thinks anyway.
A percentage, I think it should be shrunk a percentage in the difference between the average height of a man and the average height of a woman, because I've seen some women's football. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. I try not to laugh and read straight face. Basically, it's the corners that are a bit of a problem, and getting into the corners, reaching the corners. I mean, Mary Earps is a fantastic keeper, but look at the gaps. Top strikers should be able to beat her.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it is here's what 1s and 0s. Stick it in 1 if you think it's reasonable, 0 if it's offensive. Or we should just leave them alone.
One to cut the size of the goal proportionately, and 0 to leave it as it is.
Leave it as it is.
And let them scrapping around trying to find the ball.
Whilst we're figuring that out, smash the like button, guys, if you enjoy the content that Johnny and I put together. Smash the subscribe. We're on Spurs Talk Show and on Football League. If you are on Spurs Talk Show, please go into the description. I'll put the link in the chat in a second. And then click the link to the Football Inc. Go and spend some time over there as well. Don't just hit the link, hit the subscribe, and come back if you don't mind. But we'd appreciate the watch time as well. It all helps the channel grow. As I say, it's important for it's Johnny and I's venture together, but it's Johnny's needs a YouTube channel, and this is the first walk in that direction. And if you love Johnny like I do, then that's the way you can show your appreciation. Last story for you, mate, before we move into this QSI and the INEOS thing. Rafa Benitez links somewhat popping up today in some decent aggregators and some decent journalists' mind that if Pochettino is the favourite to take over from Ange at some point in the next whatever, and it's not an insult if you're watching and you're an Angeophile, the reality is at some point Ange won't be the next Tottenham manager. And if that happens within the next 18 months before the likely departure of Pochettino following the World Cup in America, then the argument here apparently is that the short-term solution, whilst I was pitching for Kieran McKenna because I think he's got a respect for youth, and I think he's done well at Ipswich. He plays good football, and obviously he's got connections to Tottenham.
And he's with CAA.
He's with CAA. But that's not apparently on the cards. But Rafa Benitez is. Now, listen, Rafa Benitez, obviously very well known for the Liverpool Champions League win when he turned around a 3-0 halftime deficit against AC Milan. And he also got 2 La Liga titles with Valencia. But look, that was a long time ago. And his most recent sort of success, if you want to call it that, was lifting the championship trophy with Newcastle in 2017. So that was 8 years ago. He's also, didn't do too well at Everton, pissed a lot of Everton fans off because of his connections to Liverpool, etc. Johnny, I mean, Rafa Benitez, even on a short-term contract, is there any respect for that idea from you?
Absolutely none. Listen, I respect what he did in his past, but the past is past, and sometimes the dinosaur needs to be put out to grass. And look, the thing is, everything develops and everything evolves, and certain managers evolve, and I don't think he's one of those that has evolved. 3. Pep is
not
evolved.
Sure what 3 stands for. I think 3 might be saying bring in part of the maybe the trans community and let them stick in. I don't know.
There's a lot of ones. There's a lot of ones. I just think it would improve women's football massively. But it's interesting to see what people are saying there. But it's true,
Honestly,
isn't it?
honestly, I'm surprised we haven't been shut down yet, mate. I'm surprised. This channel in the last 24 hours has become incredibly.
Listen, I'm trying to improve the women's game. Right?
I know. No, so I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Listen, at the end of the day, Johnny, don't ever worry about offending people, because people at the end of the day will find a problem whatever you say. So say what you want. You know what I mean? It doesn't you're never going to please everybody. So say what you want at the end of it.
Listen, when you've got a 6'4" Vicario in the same goal as a 5'8", the world's best goalkeeper is 5'8" in the women's game. There's something not quite right. Anyway, back to Rafa Benitez. Listen, I think he made a big mistake going to Everton. He wasn't liked. He didn't do great there. As you said, great Valencia, did some great stuff at Liverpool. But I think football moves on. And you have to evolve as a manager. And we've seen with Ange. Ange has his style of play. And he says, he's not going to be swayed. He's not going to be moved from his ethos and how he's going to play. And, there are other managers that have, Thomas Frank, for example, totally flexible in his way of playing, which will give him longevity. Same with Iraola. So, and Pep and Arteta. So, not for me.
On that Iraola note, apparently stories out today. I didn't put it on my list, but now you mentioned his name, it rings a bell. Apparently, Bill Foley is looking to line up a new contract for him because he's worried that Tottenham and Daniel Levy are going to come in and try and take him away, and they're going to put some sort of monster clause in there that's whatever. So, and apparently he's open-minded to the idea. He sees the project there. So on that basis, I'm not even that much on board the idea for what it's worth of an Iraola. This is not me disrespecting him. I think he's clever. I think he's smart. I just don't really. I've got my mindset on a Poch return, and I'm almost kind of happy to wait and figure that out. But if you want to go and get an Iraola, then that's not going to be it's not going to be cheap, especially if there's a new contract. B, you'd need to put him on a 5-year deal or something that's lengthy. And
have you seen Iraola's bench? Have you seen Iraola's bench recently? This is a guy that doesn't have any qualms about playing the kids and embrace the kids. He gives me Poch vibes. And, Ange doesn't give me Poch vibes, because I think deep down, he's worried about his job and winning, which they all are. But, I think Pochettino would embrace the youth that we've got coming through and would nurture it and improve it. And we'd end up with a whole load of internationals. That's what I call a top manager. And Iraola for me is that guy. When you look at his injury crisis, even Huijsen only came in due to the Argentinian getting injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't even maybe be playing. So anyway, look, it's all hearsay right now. Ange is here, and he's here until he gets knocked out of the Europa Cup or wins it. And if he wins the Europa Cup, he'll be carried naked through the streets of Tottenham, no doubt. So, and rightly so, he'll be applauded. Right, let's go on to the story now. The main story.
Yeah, here we go. So this is the story from Football London. This is from Dave Powell, Chief Business of Football writer. Love to see that they've moved into football finance more predominantly. What's up? Why is that jumping? What's going on here? Here we go. The investment organisation. Sorry, I missed the first bit. Clearly, no, I haven't. The investment organisation that had been heavily linked with the deal for Tottenham Hotspur have reportedly threatened to divest from French football over a legal case. Qatar Sports Investment, the Qatari government-operated organisation that owns French giants PSG, has seen its chief, Nasser Al-Khalifi, become the focus of an investigation in France over allegations of corporate vote buying and abuse of power offences. And as I say, if you look into that story a bit deeper, there's also allegations of hacking and Pegasus and all sorts of crazy
bribery
things.
As well. Bribery of another company that QSI has an investment in. Which go on and carry on with the story there. Sure.
Yeah, it's just like I say, if from someone that's been on the receiving end of monitoring was a nice way to say it. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling, and I'm guessing these people go through that stuff all the time. And if that's what's happening, then it's probably a reason to want out of the environment you're in. Al Khalifi was charged earlier this month with the case relating to a boardroom struggle at the media firm Lagardère Group, with the focus on allegations of an attempt to influence a vote at the company in which QSI is the biggest shareholder. The investigation has sparked a row, with QSI now reportedly ready to consider their investment in PSG, a club that they have majority owned since 2011, but where they have been diluting their interest over the past couple of years, selling real estate and handing over 12.5% stake in the club to American investment firm Arctos Sports Partners, another name that I've mentioned in the past that could be an interested party in a Premier League club. Not Tottenham. I haven't heard it related to Tottenham specifically.
I think his name was dropped as one of many.
Right. RMC Sport quoted an anonymous source close to the QSI as saying the Qataris have had enough of these abuses, false legal proceedings, blackmail, daily criticism, being blamed for the total incompetence of others. Every problem in France is their fault. Every time they try to help, it's supposedly for soft power. This is pure abuse, and everyone has had enough. Al Khalifi, who serves as chairman of the European Club Association as well as the broadcaster beIN Sports, has previously been linked with an interest in taking a minority stake at Spurs after reportedly holding talks with Daniel Levy in 2023, something that denied at the time. Levy and Al Khalifi are said to have a close relationship and alignment. Wasn't enough to get Mawani over the line. And with Levy and ENIC, the focus of much ire from Spurs fans who made their feelings known both prior and during Sunday's 1-0 win over United at the stadium, angry at the running of the club's QSI's potential divestment from France in the not-too-distant future, could raise some eyebrows. Last week, a Qatari consortium were linked with a potential takeover play for Spurs, one where it was suggested that Levy could remain in situ as chairman in the event of every deal. The report claimed that the interested Qatari party were not linked to QSI. Listen, if you've done as much looking into that, you know that there's no such thing as no relation. It's all very much incestuous. Exactly. Great word. Business wise. Not for no other reason, just business wise.
We're not going to go down another dark alley.
Yeah, we're going to get now we're going to get cancelled by family matters or something. QSI have spent big in the pursuit of success at PSG over the past 14 years, breaking the transfer world record twice to bring in Neymar Jr. for 200 bar and Kylian Mbappe for 160 a year later, not to mention adding Messi to the ranks for a period to create the most potent star-studded strike force, yada, yada, yada. The approach has changed in recent seasons, with PSG less inclined to spend big money, with the perilous state of France's diminishing media rights not helping matters. Something brought to you first and foremost on Football Inc. and on Spurs Talk Show. That's where you can find out all this stuff, guys. And also Sean Butler TV as well. Check out that link in the description. The transfer strategy has changed at a time when QSI are reducing the level of their stake in the club. QSI will want to have a foothold in European football at the top level, and the issues around stadium ownership at PSG, with the city council, this is interesting, owning the Parc des Princes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And QSI having been frustrated in, exactly. Johnny was talking about this yesterday. We're going to come back to you now in a second, Johnny. Frustrated in attempts to address that, as well as with plans to build a new stadium in the French capital, have only added to the frustration. Last bit, Spurs, of course, don't have such issues with the stadium in an enormous boon, or is an enormous boon. So too is the fact that the club had multiple revenue streams that their rivals cannot lean on, with a balance sheet that allows them to spend big on bridging the gap to competitive success, and based in one of the world's most popular and populous cities. Having influence in the Premier League will be significant for the QSI and for Al Khalifi, as it would for the Qatari state, although it is often stressed that QSI and the government operate independently of each other. Bullshit! Yeah. There are few who can give Levy a run for his money when it comes to negotiation. Disagree. But Al Khalifi is one of those, and the direction of travel for QSI should be watched closely with regard to how it might impact Spurs and their ownership status moving forward. Johnny, initial thoughts, mate?
Well, QSI is part of QIA. And QIA is the Qatari Investment Association, which is basically the state-owned fund. Everything from Qatar, all the oil money's gone on and bought stakes in companies all around the world, whether it be Harrods, whether it be banks, literally everything you can think of. You look in QIA. QSI is just a small part of QIA, which is their sports division. They haven't been as successful as the Saudi group in buying up the hearts and minds and sports washing, boxing, UFC, football, golf. Qatar needs to do that, and they
Boxing.
see football and boxing, and they see this as a way of doing it. And I think they've been met with a lot of issues down in France, in Paris. The stadium's been a long-running one. They've been trying to buy this stadium now for a number of years. They've made lots of attempts to buy the whole thing. They wanted to develop it. They feel like it's old. They feel like they could do a lot more with it in the development. And they've just been blocked every step. So with diminishing income or almost no income coming from French football through the TV rights, even if they did secure a deal, it's minuscule. So when you look at that, the fact that they can't own the stadium, that there's TV rights are going, that they've now realised, coming in and spending the money on Neymar and Mbappe doesn't guarantee you anything. They've taken more of an approach to youth, like Spurs have been doing, funny enough. And I think
they've still got a phenomenal team, though. Paris have still got an unbelievable
team.
They've
been buying top young talent. The fact that Mawani was sold and he's gone and he's banging in goals left, right, and centre.
6 goals and 1 assist in 6 games, I think.
6 goals and 1 assist. That was
unbelievable.
We knew at the time that he was.
They've still got. It's not like horses for courses, right? If you're unhappy where you are, if you're not playing, whatever. There's a million. There's a human being. There's a million reasons why you might not just settle. In fact, for what it's worth, I've got a Matisse Tell story here. He seems to have settled in London. We were all thinking he doesn't really want to be here. From everything I'm reading, Matisse Tell seems to have really loved his initial, even though he was on the back of 2 defeats, 2 cup exits in 2 games. He apparently is settled into life in London, like a hand to glove. So like I say, with Mawani maybe not settling in France, he goes to Italy. Everything's great for him. Everything's great.
I mean, listen, who wouldn't at 19 years of age coming into London? Having everything do it, turning up and seeing the Spurs training complex, the lovely 6-star hotel.
Well, apparently the gym is too small.
Yeah, the gym's too small. But the 6-star hotel, mate, I mean, honestly, it's got everything. They're pampered. I would suggest maybe too pampered. I think a return to a porter cabin on a cold day in a park would do them the world.
Maybe that should be a consequence of poor performance, right? Those people that don't perform. All right, you and you get yourself out there to pitch number 1. You get yourself out there. You're training today over in Enfield, and you're going to be playing alongside the under 7s of Enfield Town or something. But
look. The thing is, we got to remember. We're carried away here that Spurs is the only gig in town, but they're not. The Fenway Group, FSG,
right. Massively important. Yeah, massively important. Continue.
I think FSG are potentially there for a takeover, and what better prize for the Qataris than the name Liverpool? We think of ourselves
100%.
Club, but Liverpool are on another level on a world stage.
And there's not that political complication. As I said yesterday, it's awkward conversations that have to be had, and we're not afraid to have them. And like I said earlier, Johnny, you say what you want to say, I'll say what I want to say, because people are going to have a problem with it either way. But you have to engage with the complications, the complexity of the political side. I see people in the comments earlier saying leave the politics out of it. You can't, right? It's a big deal.
Will Daniel,
but that doesn't exist if you take over Liverpool, because Liverpool don't have the Jewish connections that Tottenham do. So it will be a consideration. Sorry, Johnny.
No, it's my fault. I was talking over you there. Sorry. It was just to say that will Daniel feel the pressure that should he do a deal with Qatar, the backlash for him would be a different type of backlash from the community, and maybe he feels that he can't do that. That's also a possibility. That is a possibility.
To be entirely honest, Johnny, I'll be entirely honest, right? So I don't remember. I sort of grew up in Essex and moved into Surrey when I was about 8 years old, right? I love the Wagwan, You know, I love those Wagwan bottles of tonic wine or whatever that I get outside the stadium. They don't sell them around here where I live, right? It's not that kind of community is a certain way, and it's obviously not a big seller. I went to Australia when I was 29, and in the community there, you don't really come across too many. You come across other communities, like a lot of Greeks, a lot of Italians, a lot of that sort of vibe, but you don't, and Lebanese and stuff. And then you come and you go to America, right? And then for the first time in America, I would meet people that I just presumed, because I hadn't ever thought about it, that they were, of a certain, European heritage, but I never even crossed my mind. I met a lot of Jewish people in America, in New York. There's loads of them, right? But but then you kind of go, oh, okay, so you never know, like you can't sort of predict or assume anything about someone's heritage. I remember getting in the car going to Luton with you, and you were having a conversation with me. I had no idea that you were Jewish at the time, right? And then obviously from the Tottenham community doing this over the last few years, it's like every time I have a conversation with someone, I didn't realize that they may have been Jewish.
Thing,
right?
is it? It's not. Listen, normally in life it ain't a thing.
It's not exactly. It's not something you even consider.
So my religion is Spurs. That is 100%. My religion.
But my point is that I had absolutely no idea what percentage of the Tottenham fan base that I've now met as a consequence of this experience doing content is Jewish. What percentage what percentage of the match going fans would you predict are of Jewish descent? Because it's probably, is it like, do you think it's majority, or would you say it's just like no,
nowhere near. No, but listen, Arsenal has a large Jewish following. So does Chelsea. It's just a fallacy. It's something that happened sort of in the 70s. That happened, and I think it's sort of gathered momentum, and a lot of the the Chelsea fans and the Millwall fans back in the day would do the hissing, the sound of the gas chambers. And so as a retort,
awful
stuff, right? But as a retort, black, white, yellow, green,
everyone joined on the Yid Army.
The Spurs fan retorted back with Yid Army, right?
Yeah,
Which for me, as a young kid, when you're walking around and you go Yid Army,
it's actually my favorite song. Is They Tried to Stop Us, but look what we did, right? I think that is my favorite song. The question, I guess, with all that sidetrack there, Johnny, is how much of a headache is there going to be, and will it hit the pockets of the football club if there is a rebellion from whatever that slice of the pie that is the fan base, that are season ticket holders who are Jewish, that have a problem with the notion of Qatari ownership? Like I say, I know it's an awkward conversation. If you're happy to have it, I am. I haven't got a dog in the fight, so I don't really, I'm just going to say it as I see it. Is there going to be more problems for Daniel Levy, or at least maybe not more, but a new problem by getting on board with a phased buyout of Qatar?
I think a lot of people will be disgusted, and they say that they would give up their season tickets because they couldn't be associated with it. And there will be others who are disgusted, but they'll get over it. And, when they see top players arriving, it will be forgotten. I think the problem we have here is with what happened on October the 7th, and the fact that the Qataris have housed the leaders of Hamas while all those poor people were getting killed in Gaza. The Hamas leadership were, bigging it up with billions of pounds, quaffing, the finest foods in Qatar. It's no coincidence that they knew Trump was going to come in, and they've asked them politely to leave. So the heads are now sat in Turkey. And I think maybe there's a belief that Qatar doesn't want to be left out of the Abraham agreement, this peace agreement, potentially, that's going to be done between Saudi Arabia, the UAE, which has got fantastic relations with the Jewish community. And so it's not about Arabs. I must tell you this. This isn't about Arabs and Jews. This isn't about that, or Arabs and Israelis. This is the fact that
the specifics of Qatar with Hamas, right?
Yeah, they were the ones supporting a terrorist organization, because I was out in Dubai My son was in Saudi, Abu Dhabi. So listen, you know, there's no problem. There's no problem there.
No, of course not. And there shouldn't be. There should absolutely shouldn't be.
I think
but like I say, it's a sensitive topic, but it's one that if you're interested in the deep and meaningful side of whatever's going on within Tottenham Hotspur, then it's a conversation that has to be had. And a lot of people don't want to go near it because of the concerns of what's going to happen in the comment section. But the Spurs Talk Show doesn't give a shit. And I think Football Inc. shouldn't either, Johnny. You know, we should be having these conversations, mate, because the difficult
conversations are the ones you need to have. I mean, you can bury your head in the sand. You know, it is going to affect them, but the majority will be non-Jewish, and the majority will be very happy. You know, we saw the scenes at Newcastle when. When the PIF took over, but then you saw like, there was that third kit that had the green and the white of Saudi Arabia. Could you imagine if Tottenham had the, because half of the Qatar flag is white, the other, or a third of it, the other 2/3 is like a kind of claret kind of type color. Could you see Tottenham having a home kit that incorporated a little bit of lily white and a little bit of I don't think. Listen, I don't think that's an issue. I think more of an issue was when, the Saudis came to Newcastle, all the fans ran down to the stadium all in Arab headdress. I thought that was, if you're going to be, politically incorrect, that all Arabs walk around dressed like that. They don't. I was in Dubai, and they don't. It's a proportion.
No, I actually went to an outdoor...
saying all Jews have the
the sideburns
with a cap on. That's not true. Or
for what it's worth, I went to Dubai as well a long time ago, and as part of an evening out, we all were offered to dress up in their garb, and it was so hot. But wearing that, I understand why they wear it. It's incredibly freeing. It's incredibly I don't know, it makes you feel a little bit cooler, shall we say, in certain parts of your body.
But listen,
anyway,
it's let's cross the bridge when it comes to it. Because there is a large element of this that smells terribly of look, when agents want to sell their players or get them, they release information to the press to create stories. So do owners, so do clubs. Have a word with so and so, spread the word, and suddenly it gets out. I've heard from a source X, Y, and Z. And the fact that all of these rumours are coming out at the time of discontent amongst the fan base, and the fact that we're about to enter a season ticket renewal, lo and behold, we're being linked to all these players, a takeover bid, and in a couple of weeks' time, the premium seats will be getting the news of the reimbursement. So let's move on to INEOS and
another part of the conversation, mate. Another part of the conversation, obviously. On this channel, Spurs Talk Show.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Say that again.
I said, I can't believe we mentioned this yesterday.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's wild that the way that things get around quick. So ahead of the game, Tottenham. This is from City AM. This is obviously the free. It's like the equivalent of London. If you're not familiar with the Journal, if you're wherever you are in the world, this is the equivalent of like the London or the Evening Standard. It's a free paper that's usually business focused, but certainly also just London centric. That's if you get on the train in the morning or any time of the day, there's thousands of them that people pick them up, read them for half an hour on the way to London, and then drop them off. So it's a nice little way to spend your half an hour if you haven't got access to a phone. So Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are set to continue cutting their investment in sport beyond Manchester United, with the company's commercial deal with Tottenham Hotspur unlikely to be renewed. Spurs signed a 5-year contract with INEOS Grenadier as their official 4x4 vehicle partner in 2022, having previously partnered with INEOS Hygienics as official hand sanitizer supplier during the COVID-19 pandemic. So just quickly before I get on with the story, I mentioned in yesterday's video, I mentioned it on Ashmatic and Marlon's channel last night. No such thing as a clean billionaire. You look into INEOS Group, like there's always something somewhere that's going to annoy you depending on your sensitivities. INEOS is a massive chemical giant. They are, they everything that can go into anything from pharmaceuticals to testing on animals to farming, whatever your gripe is with being, if you're someone who's like leans green, then INEOS ain't for you. This particular contract, though, they're a conglomerate. They have a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and INEOS Grenadier is their a vehicle that they seem to have moved into.
Well, that's their cleaning, Sean. That I actually think that the things like the Grenadier is a diversion from the chemicals, because then you're thinking about a specialist vehicle and the cleansing. So we talk about Saudi sports washing, very much so. INEOS trying to get away from petrochemicals and your cucumbers being
17-foot tall cucumbers,
18-foot pumpkins, things like that, genetically modified.
Nothing to see here. Just feed your family for £1. Go get yourself a 12-foot pumpkin.
But no,
don't worry about the fact that you're going to grab a seventh finger. That's not a problem. You know, that sick nipple that you've got, nothing to do with the chemicals. Nothing to do with the
chemicals. Nothing to do with INEOS. Let's hope we're not being sued in the morning.
Listen, mate. Listen, this channel's getting shut down anyway by the hackers or by the protesters.
Can I just say that they have been what I class as sports washing. So they were in rugby, they were in the America's Cup, Ben Ainsley. So cleaning up their name, so to speak, to give it this, look at us. They're involved in this. They're involved in football. They're involved in rugby. They're involved in sailing. All lovely sporting stuff. But I don't know why suddenly they're clawing it all back, because this would be another clawback.
I love that. Sensational. That's the comment of the day, Patrick. Comment of the day. Fantastic.
I think the thing is that interesting. Why is he suddenly clawing back? And it's not just Spurs he's looking to cut the 5 million for. I mean, that 5 million would be better invested in Man United. But would he even invest 5 million in Man United? But he's cutting back on, as I said, he's pulled out of Ben Ainsley, the America's Cup sponsorship. He's called back on the rugby and other stuff. Now, he's also clawing back a lot of the spend at Man United. So, is there potentially a problem with INEOS Group?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'll give you a little bit of a speculative take here, Johnny. And by the way, just for what it's worth, in case any lawyers of any of the companies or parts of the world or any of the sensitive groups that we've had a laugh at over the last couple of days, it's all alleged. It's all like, we're not
allegedly,
right? I don't want a letter coming through from someone. So we're nobody, so ignore us, please. But listen, for what it's worth, right, you also have to remember, and INEOS is a conglomerate, a global giant, similar to companies in Germany that are massive in this regard.
I've had a correction from my son. He said he went to Qatar, not Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay, fair. Thank you. Is that Brandon or was that?
Yeah, it's Brandon. Yeah, Brandon. I made a mistake.
Shout out to you, Brandon.
So apologies.
Brandon, the Levy Inner, apparently, who calls his dad out for the nonsense of Levy out.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Brandon. Look, Donald Trump in the administration has just managed to get Robert RFK Jr. right into the I think it's the health department or the whatever is it the HIS or something? I forget what it's called, the NIH. And this guy wants to come in and make everything healthy again, make America healthy again. And I'm pretty sure, not allegedly, I'm pretty certain
is definitely on the list.
Chemical companies, all that, Monsanto, all that stuff, probably going to be looking at their future revenue streams and thinking, have we got issues here? And obviously, it's a stretch to say that that's going to directly influence and impact the decision making around football clubs in the UK. But look, Ratcliffe is, a minority, but an intended majority owner of Manchester United. Now, with regards to this particular story, and we're going to carry on with the story in just a second, but whether it's just like the kind of conflicts of interest idea that why are you giving them money when you should be giving it to us? That's probably more likely. But there's also, to your point, Johnny, the argument that maybe INEOS's revenue streams are a little bit under threat because of political influence that's happening elsewhere in the world. And we live in, it's a very small world these days, right? And if you're looking at companies that have the revenue, as I always say this, when it comes to like a likely Tottenham takeover target, especially when it comes to things like naming rights, there's very, very few companies that can tick the various criteria that are necessary to be a good fit. You need someone that has a brand that is globally, that has global reach, that can afford the sorts of numbers, that can see the value in the branding being put on the stadium or wherever else, and that is also B2C. Now, INEOS isn't B2C, and that's why they wouldn't be sponsoring a stadium in all likelihood. But in terms of the value of branding, well, maybe they're looking at it thinking, you know what, we jumped into a partnership that for a bunch of different reasons no longer makes sense. And the article here is suggesting that that INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, for one of or many of those reasons, needs to kind of partake in some sort of divestiture from Tottenham's relationship. Let's just continue the story, and then we'll get Johnny's stake. Ratcliffe chose to continue the relationship after buying a 25% stake in United last year, and its branding is prominent in both dugouts and on the electrical advertising hoardings at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but has no plans to seek an extension. The petrochemicals giant has slashed its sports spending in recent months, ending a partnership with four-time Olympic champion, as you said, Ainsley, following last year's failed America Cup bid, and the New Zealand rugby team attempting to renegotiate a £3.7 million a year sponsorship deal that does not expire until 2027. In addition, the Telegraph reported yesterday that INEOS's one-third stake in the Mercedes Formula One team was in doubt earlier this winter amid negotiations over the terms of its sponsorship deal with the team. Remember, the Mercedes, I'm pretty sure it's the Mercedes F1 team that is that not owned by the Iranian American Jam Najafi that was also
no, that's
is it? Okay, sorry. Yeah. Is it not McLaren Mercedes? Is that not the same team?
No, McLaren. The McLaren is Al Jaffrey, and he's got a stake. I thought Mercedes and McLaren were the same. No. Okay, whatever. We'll move on. It added that Mercedes-Benz went as far as sourcing financing to buy out INEOS. Mercedes said yesterday that its partnership with INEOS would remain in place this year. Ratcliffe also appears to be reducing his financial commitment to the INEOS Grenadiers cycling team. Wow. Who announced last month that they are seeking a second title sponsor. While INEOS has no plans to exit the Tottenham deal early, as it is a modest financial commitment, numerous sources have indicated that it will not be renewed. INEOS is sporting retrenchment. I think it was five. I think it was $5 million a year from memory. Yeah.
Which isn't. It's not insignificant. It's not insignificant at all. No. And as Mark Goldbridge suggested, that $5 million might have been the difference in the ability to pay the loan fee that saw Matisse Tell come to Tottenham, right, rather than them. INEOS' sporting retrenchment, which includes Ratcliffe's major cost-cutting at United, comes as the company's global financial health is under scrutiny. Credit ratings agency Fitch Ratings and Moody's last week downgraded INEOS' outlook to negative. Wowzers. There you go. Pointing out that its 1.2 billion debts are 6 times its annual earnings. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Why on God's green earth did that geezer get involved in Manchester United?
Well, because he probably
what are you doing, bro?
He probably thought, like the Glazers, he could extract 40 million a year in dividends. You know,
interesting. Exactly.
Get a piece of that. A piece of that cake. The thing is, look, as you said, Kennedy is going to come in and attack pesticides and chemicals that have been used willy-nilly. The stuff that they put in the water, chlorine. All sorts of stuff that he's against massively, and INEOS is a global chemical company, and America will be a huge partner to them. So I definitely think that there's an issue going on. I think he's cost cutting. You know, we talk about getting rid of Daniel, but when you look at someone like the Glazers. Can you imagine getting rid of Levy and bringing in the Glazers and finding out and then behaving the way they have? They've got a stadium that's falling down. literally falling down. They've got a training ground at Carrington, which is in a complete mess. They have mismanaged hundreds and hundreds of millions. They've got staff there who have been there for an eternity. No one knows. They've got credit cards running around, charging everything, going out for meals. And Ratcliffe's come in and he's trying to cut it. But one wonders whether he's gone too far, whether he's gone too far.
This is the likely outcome in this not just political environment, the economic environment. This is the likely outcome with the majority of new investment that most Tottenham fans. Yeah, okay, and that's fine. Well, but even then, Saudi Arabia are not funding and not financing Newcastle. I don't know if there's a few Newcastle United fans that subscribe to Sean Butler TV that have subsequently joined, become friends with Spurs Talk Show. We saw an Everton fan in the chat. I'd hope, and by the way, guys, make sure this is my part in the show where we're going for an hour and a half. Please smash the like button on whichever channel you're on, either Football Inc. or Spurs Talk Show. But then if you're not on Football Inc. already, can you please go over there where you're going to hear more about, all things Tottenham. Oh, sorry, all things football, not just Tottenham. Get over there. I'll put the link in a second. Get over there and hit the subscribe and spend some time over there as well, please, so that we can get the watch hours up. It really helps the algo. But Johnny, this is this is the stuff that I've got to call it out, right? I have to call it out. I support the protest. I really do. I think Billy and Jay did a wonderful job. I thought it was really well organized. It was safe. It was friendly. It was passionate. Yeah. But there was very little nastiness. If anything, the only donut that I saw was the guy with the Levy In banner. Levy In. Right. There's donuts in every walk of life. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. There's going to be a donut that's next to you at some point. But to me, when I hear things like anyone but him will do,
well, that's ridiculous.
It is obviously ridiculous, but
they don't mean that.
Some of them probably do. But then I spend a lot of time on various channels, and I see people that just scoff and ridicule and mock the notion that we spend too much time talking about finance because it's about football. And I'm like, okay, you might not care about finance, but that doesn't mean that it's not important. It doesn't. It's just like politics, right? You might not sit there and tune into BBC News or CNN or ABC, wherever you are in the world. You might not care about who it is that's running your country because you're more interested in whatever directly affects you. But those things do directly affect you, whether you are interested in them or not. And when I see that INEOS story, I had no idea that INEOS had that much debt and it's 6 times their revenue. That is insane. That's insane, especially with the environment, economically and politically, that they're walking into. And Johnny, I'll come back to you now. What I worry about is, and I know it's another phrase that's ridiculed and mocked, and people just turn their eyes up to it. But better the devil you know. And Qatar, people think that because you're oil money, you no longer care about ROI. You don't give a shit suddenly about smart business decisions. That's not the case. Look at Newcastle. They've got the wealthiest PIF. They've got the wealthiest fund in the world, Johnny, in terms of individual state sovereign wealth, apart from Norway. Sorry, Norway's number 1, but they have no interest in football. But Saudi Arabia aren't going to finance the new stadium, or at least not without debt. So, and then if you put debt on that stadium, then it's going to be 8-9%. And 8-9% on a $1.5 billion for a new stadium, that's 100 million quid a year, Johnny, on interest payments that could be financed by the Saudis that aren't probably going to be. So it's not as simple as
no.
Again, when I read that shit, it makes me more inclined to say I'm not Levy in, but actually I'm even less like someone else in, because I just think that he ain't that bad.
You're not looking. Look. Sean, he doesn't have the money. And I will tell you, with the Newcastle, the headline is the Saudi PIF, right? That's the headline. But the smaller thing at the bottom is the Rubin brothers, okay? Now, the Rubin brothers are probably one of the biggest Jewish investment property developers. What they've done is very smart. They're working in conjunction. The Saudis will no doubt fund the Rubin brothers' development of the Newcastle area and surrounding areas. What they've done by buying Newcastle, they're buying the hearts and minds of not only the fans, But the council, do you really think it would be that difficult going to the council and saying, we want to redevelop this, we want to knock down all that crap there, and we want to build nice, big, shiny offices, and we'll pay for it all, we'll do it all. Welcome aboard. Regeneration. And that's what I think is the potential attraction for the Qataris with Tottenham Hotspur. Because as I mentioned to you before, there are many plans which some people don't seem to know about for the regeneration of Spurs coming from the station all the way down to the ground, knocking down Chicken, knocking down all those shops, knocking down all those houses there, and building like a Wembley way. Okay, there's the hotel, there's the properties, there's the regeneration. Now, I think if they were to come in and make the buy, and they were going to fund the regeneration of the area at a low interest rate, there's a very good chance that they'd win over the hearts and minds of council, even someone like David Lammy, to actually allow the developments. Because let's be honest, right? You go anywhere else. I mean, going in Dubai, my mate was only there a couple of years ago. He said he cannot believe. He said tower blocks gone up, boom, 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 boom. Right? This country, it could take you 3 years to get planning permission, or 4 years to get planning.
Go to Las Vegas, mate. Have you been to Las Vegas, Johnny?
Yeah, I have. I mean, listen, look. I mean,
Las Vegas have construction going on. If they're building a new hotel, when I went there a long time ago to see my dad got remarried, next to the whatever hotel it was, I forget now. The one next door was being built, and it was 24 hours a day construction because time is money, right? There was no like, if it rained in Australia, if it rains, the unions. If you're a plumber who works in commercial building in Australia, correct me if I'm wrong if you're watching Australia, but I'm pretty sure that if you're a plumber or an electrician or whatever, one of these like a tradie they call them, if it rains for more than like 20 minutes in the morning, they get the day off full pay because unions, right? But in America, time is money. So like you work 24 hours a day, and we'll put the lights out there. We'll get that hotel built as quick as possible.
In Singapore, when they built Marina Bay Sands, that big towered hotel over Marina Bay, they built a city. It operated 24 hours a day building, And where were you looking at this country where they're trying to build a train, the HS2? They're talking about spending £100 million on a bat tunnel. A tunnle for bat.
How much is HS2 over budget? Like £25 billion or something, isn't it?
What world is it worth? And it's going to take another 3 years to build the bat tunnel. So the bats can fly under this tunnel and not be affected by the trains. Right? I mean, the world's gone mad. Okay, we're saying things go over.
Now we pissed off the RSPCA. Johnny, is there anyone we haven't pissed off in the last 48 hours? RSPCA, women's rights, LGBTQ, Qatar, Israel, everyone. We're going after everybody. Just quickly, I think I've also pissed off Norway. Someone in the comment section a minute ago said we are. There you go. Statue TV. To be entirely, what I meant was the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund has not expressed any interest in investing in football. I didn't mean that Norway. I know Norway has interest in football. I know that. I'm just saying that they haven't expressed any interest in investing into football teams.
Can I just say, Norway?
We can't help ourselves today. We are pissing everybody off. I'm going to put
Norway straight here. Norway has if I'm not mistaken, the biggest private state investment fund out there.
It's massive. It's something like $1.1 trillion or so. It's bigger than PIF.
You don't realise. Yes, the average man in the street, I don't think, realizes the wealth of Norway and the amount of money and how astute they have been in investing their money. Not like this country, which Gordon Brown decided he's going to announce to the world he's going to sell all our gold and crash the gold price and sold it.
It probably wasn't our gold in the first place, to be entirely honest.
We probably nicked it from some country, no doubt.
Yeah, but you know what?
And we don't go on to colonialism.
Just to be entirely like clear, if we're going to piss everyone off, I'm going to piss off the British as well. The British have more responsibility for many of the world's problems than most. If I'm entirely honest, we've absolutely ransacked most of the world. So everyone is guilty of something if you go back far enough. Johnny, just quickly on the this story about Qatar. Yeah, let's go back to football. But on the Qatar oversight, there was a tweet out yesterday that was shared around, and I'm sure it was absolute nonsense as well, just like the one we did from that Jassim El Thani one that turned out to be a Snapchat El Thani, we'll call him. There was another one that came out from the guy called Habiluba or something.
I've got it here. Shall I read it?
Habiluba Khan, who was talking about. Yeah, I don't really want to read the whole thing out, but essentially the main point I want you to talk about is because I know you were talking about we spoke about this offline. Yeah. He was saying, in a nutshell, he's saying, because it's a long tweet, but he's basically saying that part of the Qatar requirements is that there is an underground station extension that is basically outside of the stadium. Now, my immediate thought was obviously this is just another nonsense tweet, and it probably is, but we'll just talk about the prospect of it, because I'm pretty sure that back when we were building the stadium, Johnny, if I'm not mistaken, that Daniel Levy wanted that as part of the agreement, and the TFL said no. And Lammy, right? So, but then you said to me, I think it was you. What was you yesterday? You said to me
today. I said to you today.
Was it this morning? You said to me, actually, Sean, it's like there is a path. There's like there's a track already laid or something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's not. So it's not going to take some like London Underground, like that machine that churns out all of the ground underneath the high road. No, it's not going to take 10 years.
You know, your underground. Yeah, well, we've got to dig a tunnel. No, if you've been on a train, you know that underground goes overground as well. You know, underground, overground, wombling free.
But not in Tottenham.
But from Seven Sisters to, I'm trying to think of the station there now. But
it goes all the way up to Walthamstow, right? But like you have to. So what are you saying that the proposal would be like a pivot away?
Track, or there's an old passage, which apparently is there, and yes, it's going to take work, and yes, it will take money, but it's not like we're going to have to bring a boring machine. We're not boring the Channel Tunnel. You know, it's running up down the high street.
Someone bring me Elon Musk. You got the boring company.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, look, at the end of the day, it's a massive spur to the regeneration of the entire area. If you had a tube line there, I personally would consider, I'll be honest with you, if there was a tube going there, I would consider parking up further away and catching a tube. I would. Bruce Grove, that's it. Yeah, Bruce Grove.
So basically, the foundations of the tube are already there.
I've read that there's track there. I've read it historically in the past. There is track, or there is potential to lay the track there. I mean, listen, we're not talking about, you know, building the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal. You know, in normal countries, it probably take about 5 months, 4 or 5 months.
Well, I remember when I left, I used to live in Clapham, right? I lived in Clapham for 8 years. Best time of my life. Absolutely loved Clapham. Shout out to Clapham. When I left and went to Australia, I remember reading, they've approved, and I forget the details, but they have essentially moved that they were going to build like an underground extension that pivoted around to Clapham Junction and then down a little bit more towards the west side of South London. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it took like 7 years to build, or 6 years. Correct me in the chat if anyone stayed close to the story or lives down that way. But so when I saw like, Tottenham, like the Qatar story is dependent on an underground extension, my initial thought was A, the tweet is nonsense, but B, if true, well, that's going to take God knows how long to facilitate. But if you're telling me, and people in the chat seem to agree, that the foundations are already there, then all right, let's do it. The only problem is, mate, is that if I go to Tottenham, a week where Tottenham are playing twice, I get about 90% of my steps in from walking from Seven Sisters down to the stadium and back, because my average, even with Bugsy Malone, yeah, with a couple of wagwans going on, yeah, it makes the journey a lot easier. I don't know if there's an underground station that's right there. I'm probably going to balloon to 20 stone again, and that's problematic for me. So Qatar out based on my future weight gain.
For me, I've got to tell you, the drive back is a nightmare. It takes me, it could easily take me an hour and a half to get back, or it could take me an hour and a half. That's why I like to get there early, Sean, so that I miss a lot of the traffic. But if I could park up on the Victoria line, somewhere on the Victoria line, for example, it would be nice and easy. And I think there would be less traffic. I think the problem is, I mean, as a kid, I used to live in Cockfosters, get the 107 bus to Enfield, hop on the trains from Enfield Station straight to White Hart Lane. But I'm somewhere else now. So the infrastructure is crap. But to regenerate, I've seen the plans for regeneration, as I said. And
you were going to send them over, weren't you? I didn't know, because you said this to me, like, I'm sure, was it this morning we had this conversation?
Well, I've had it with you before, but we had it this morning again. And I
could have sworn it was yesterday. Jesus
no.
Going from my memory.
I'm now having people message me, can I see the plans? Can I see the plans? I'll look. I want to see the plans as well. I'll tweet them.
Nice. So, look, guys, INEOS want to pull out. Johnny, we'll go for another. You got 10 more minutes, mate, and we'll round off, yeah?
Yeah, we had a quick, swift half an hour, as usual.
Yeah, I know, as usual.
Turns into like an all-dayer. Tottenham could have gone into non-existence by the time we finished the stream. Come on.
Speaking about streams, guys, please do, if you are watching this on the Spurs Talk Show, please do. I keep saying I'm going to drop the link. I haven't. I'm going to do it right now. Please do.
Drop the link and please follow and, please give us a sub. And by the way, for those who are new or dropping in, subscribing doesn't mean you're subscribing to something and money's going to be coming out of your account. It's just to a notification that when Sean and I go live, that you get notified. That's all it is.
Exactly, guys. Exactly. We could really appreciate, like I say, guys, if you're a fan of Johnny, and if you are, you might not be a fan of me, but if you're a fan of me, then as well, then you can find us working together right here. Football Inc. There's the link. So please click it and smash the subby. And but for me, it's about repaying Johnny for his dedication to the channel and getting him up and running in the YouTube space, because this guy's never present everywhere, but he doesn't ask for anything. He gives up so much of his time, and it's important that Johnny gets some recognition, and so that can be demonstrated by you guys via a subby to the Football Inc. And like I say, it's not just Tottenham. If you happen to be interested in finance, if you happen to be interested in whatever else is going on from PSR to VAR, we are going to talk about it over on Football Inc. Johnny, last thing I'll say, my man, last thing I'll ask you, buddy, is big game against Ipswich coming up. Big games tonight in the Champions League. Massive games in the Champions League. We've got the draw for the Europa League on Friday.
Which you and I are covering, I believe, after the
covering
draw.
on last one on Spurs. Yeah.
We're
going to be on last one. Well, I think the draw is going to be at 12 o'clock, but we'll be talking about it in the evening.
Yeah.
Look, the bottom revenue generating team in that show I did a week ago, the lowest, I think it was like a team from Prague. It wasn't a team from Eastern Europe. I forget. It might have been a Prague team. It wasn't Slavia Prague. It was, or maybe Pilsen. I don't know. Whichever one it was. The bottom revenue generating team that essentially got into the Champions League stage, and they didn't win a bean. I think they got one draw out of their 8 games. They earned more in the first 8 games of their Champions League season. Obviously, they're out now. They earned more than Manchester United, who were the highest revenue generating team in the Europa League at that same stage, right? So I think they earned like 25 million euros, and United earned 22.7, Tottenham earned 21.7. And that includes like stadium revenue and prize money and TV money, all this stuff. It doesn't include sponsorships, but so I mean, I'll let you go where you want with this particular question, mate. But like, first and foremost, what do you think is going to happen with regards to the draw? I think there's only 2 options for Tottenham. We've got the Champions League final parts tonight. City have got an uphill battle. And then on top of that, the financial disparity between Europa League and the Champions League. Do you think it's reasonable that the worst team in the Champions League can earn more money than the best team in the Europa League? Is that okay?
I think it is. I think it is. I like this new format. I mean, a lot of people questioned it. I absolutely loved it. I've got to be honest with you. You know, when you look at four teams in a group and it's almost done and dusted after 3 games, you can win your first 3 games. The games are so mixed up. I really, really do love it. When you look at someone like Shamrock Rovers, I'll pick them out. They made £10 million in qualification this year. £10 million. That is massive, absolutely massive for them. Spurs bought a player called Mason Melia from St Patrick. Now they held out.
Just quickly on that. Sorry to interrupt. Before the protest, I walked into the pub. I forget the call. It's called Stone something or other, and a few guys from Ireland that were over for the game in the protest. They spotted me and they wanted to chat. And they're massive St. Patrick fans, right, Johnny? Massive. And they said, we have got some player in Mason Melia. And I said, how good are we talking here? I said, are you St. Patrick fans? They were from South Dublin. They're like, yeah, we go there every game. We're massive Irish League fans. And they had a child, like one of the two gentlemen's kids was there. And he has got this, he's apparently a talented sports athlete, right? And he's got to make a decision. Does he go down the path of Gaelic football? Does he go down the path of rugby? Does he go down the path of football? And anyway, he said, Mason Melia, forget Troy Parrott, forget Evan Ferguson. Mason Melia is like, if Evan Ferguson was here, Mason Melia is like, we're talking, they are like, he's been playing men's football since he was 15.
Well, so basically, I did a thing about him at the beginning of the transfer window. I was speaking to Ricky, and I wanted to do a piece on him in the first transfer show at the beginning of January because I was tipped off about him in December, and we ran out of time. So I did it on the next show. He holds the record. He scored the youngest player to score a goal in Irish football, 15 years of age. And we were battling it out with Celtic. But going back to the Shamrock Rovers and the 10 million, that would mean that St. Patrick's were really in trouble in a competitive state because that money would last them for years. So they had Mason Melia. They hung out for an Irish record fee of 1.9 million euros, rising up to 4 million. And I asked the question, Dave from the Irish Hotspur had the guy over from Ireland on the show. And I said, people are comparing him to Troy Parrott. And I said, I think that's grossly unfair. Who would you compare him to? I think basically, having seen what this kid is about,
very grounded, apparently. Very
grounded.
Now, had the distractions of Troy Parrott that was involved in that McKinnon group or whatever, family.
I don't think the problem he's got is he's not 18 until September, which falls outside of the transfer window, the summer transfer window, which means is the reason why he can't come until January.
Yeah, European laws, Brexit. Yeah.
He does have a European passport, apparently, but they tried to circumvent it. But listen, he's a good one. So my point is that, we're going back like some Billy Connolly joke, having to retract back to the start of the actual conversation.
It's the weave, mate. It's the weave.
It's the weave.
We're going on a weave. Like Donald Trump.
Weave. Yes, I do think it's fair that the lowest team gets the money because they qualify for the Champions League or even the preliminaries and the qualifying. They make a serious amount of money, and that's the incentive.
Well, it's good. It's good for the smaller teams. I'm happy with that. But the question mark is Aston Villa 75 bar already, right? Arsenal 92 bar already, right? Manchester City, I think. Liverpool 101. Liverpool, the first team ever to make 101 million euros before the halfway stage, right? Or at the end of the halfway stage, they qualified by right.
It's fantastic.
Tottenham United only 2021.
Listen, it is what it is, Sean. But look at how much Spurs and Manchester United would have earned from the Europa League last season. A lot less. So
right. But if we're looking for competitive playing fields, my argument is not based on trying to hang on. My argument around FFP and PSR not being worth its weight is not based on trying to stop successful teams being successful. It's based on the boring nature of the Premier League, for example, whereby the top three teams that come up from the Championship inevitably go straight back down, and 2 of them come straight back up again, right? And it's just like a yo-yo effect. And if you listen to TalkSport yesterday, there was a really good conversation with Jim White and Simon Jordan that was held with Leeds United fans, and they were saying that the Championship is far more exciting. It's the most exciting league in the world, right? Because you never know who's going to go up. You never know who's going to stay, and most of them don't stay up. But obviously, they have to go up to get the money. But then they come, most fans don't like being in the Premier League because they know they're never going to get anything out of it, and it's loss after loss after loss after loss. Every week it's just torture. But they need to go up to get the money. But for me, it's not just like this argument about the leveling of the playing fields. It's not just about trying to stop Manchester City and Newcastle spending obscene money. I don't hate the fact that they have owners that have obscene wealth. It's more around how do you make the competition more interesting. And when you see Liverpool making 100 million quid, I've got no problem with the.
I don't understand your point, Sean, because like what I'm saying here is today it's Liverpool. Look how far down Real Madrid were. Look, there's 3 different competitions. The addition of the Conference League has given. I think you're looking at the wrong spectrum of it. I think you should be looking at the Conference League, which enables clubs that would probably never, ever make Europe the ability to go in and come into a competition.
But how much do they get?
Yeah, but they're a lot more money, Sean, than they would ever get by not being in the competition to begin with, right?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the people like Aston Villa finishing 4th. Or Tottenham. I'm not making the argument because Tottenham aren't in it. I'm making the argument. I don't care. Like, take Tottenham away, right? If Tottenham are in it, we benefit.
You're saying they shouldn't earn money. You shouldn't earn big money in the Champions League.
No. I'm saying that the disparity between finishing 4th and finishing 5th is the difference of 60 million quid, which is insane because it's the same 5 teams that are always there, give or take. Once upon a time, Aston Villa get in. Another time, Tottenham will. But ultimately, Brentford, Brighton, everybody else never gets into it. And Aston Villa can get dumped out of this year's top competition. Or Tottenham. I'm not saying it because it's Aston Villa. I'm saying just for argument's sake that the disparity between one place, which can be a goal difference in the league, can get you £70 million more, 70 million euros more, or 50 million euros more than the team who finishes exactly the same record as you, but happens to have had 1 more goal from Ollie Watkins or 1 more goal from Richarlison or Sonny. I just think it's the distribution of wealth is insane at that end, and it's even worse at the bottom end. It's even worse. Like it becomes boring for Leeds United.
So what? But hang on. So what's the answer? Listen,
Netflix. First of all, the obvious answer.
Championship. Hang on, there isn't an obvious answer because the Championship is already one of the richest leagues in the world in its own right.
It doesn't get anywhere near as much. Like Sky Sports are missing a trick. Again, I'm going to piss off the women here. Look at
that in comparison to France. What the French earn. The French league to what the Championship earns, right? Yeah. And I don't understand. There's always going to be a disparity with success. Real Madrid are always going to earn more than Aston Villa.
There's Matt. I mean, we can get into that. We haven't got time for that one today. But there's reasons why Real Madrid and Barcelona always have the revenues that they do.
Well, we know that.
Right. But I'm just all I'm saying is to me. Again, Daniel Levy, we're Tottenham fans, right? Daniel Levy might be a bottleneck with his ambition or his lack of risk appetite, etc., which I subscribe to. But to me, I think that the PSR, the FFP, that was supposed to be about sustainability, that all of a sudden the words of competitive imbalance have crept themselves into the verbiage around what the rules are for. That's great. I agree, because I think that it's massively boring when 5 teams win as much as they do, 2 teams over the last 12 years win as much as they do, and at the bottom end of the competition, the 5 teams go up and down, up and down. Every given year, it's 3 of 5 teams that pop up, and 4 of 5 teams, or 3 of 7 teams that go down. But it's the same. It's a roller. It's a yin yang. It's a yo-yo effect of boringness, and ultimately,
it's not boring.
It might be the best league. It might be the best league in the world, but it could be so much better if there was a better distribution of of the disparity that is ultimately decided by a goal at times or a 1 point here or there. You sneak a draw.
But Sean, football is about margins. You know, look at the margins against Spurs versus Man U. Right,
the margins are exacerbated by the inequality in the distribution. That's the point I'm making.
There was nothing to do with inequality when Garnacho missed an open goal, right? It's fate. It's what football is. Football is about margins. It will always be about margins.
But those margins.
Why are you worried? Why are you worried? I don't understand why you would be worried that in the Champions League, having qualified for the Champions League and done exceptionally well in the Champions League.
Because no one cares about top four, right? Top four is not a trophy. That's one of the adages that is banded around by people that feel the same way that you do about our owner. And I subscribe to it. Coming fourth should not be the difference of £70 million between that and coming fifth.
Yeah, but it's not, Sean, because
it is. It literally is.
Not. No, it's not, because you're giving a one-off instant, right? You can finish fourth. You can finish fourth or fifth and qualify for the Champions League and have a stinking Champions League and be right down at the bottom, right? So,
no, but you're still going to get paid more. It doesn't matter how bad you do. It doesn't matter how bad you do.
What's wrong with that? You're saying it's wrong to earn money in the Champions League.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. Listen to what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the value gap between finishing fourth and finishing fifth that can literally be separated by a goal.
So what do you want to do? I understand what you're saying. So how are you changing it? So how are you going to change it? You're going to write to UEFA? What are you doing? How are you going to change it?
Am I going to write to UEFA? No, I'm talking about my frustrations with the system. I'm not going to write to UEFA, Johnny.
How are you going to change the system?
Mate, what are we doing here? What are you saying that I should be starting a protest and get every? I've already said that the change for Tottenham is not enough. That change for Premier League is my new Twitter handle.
Well, I know that. I know that.
And now I've got to start change for Europe. Do I? Do I have to start change for Europe? Is that what we're saying here?
No, change for.
I'm just talking about the ridiculous notion that a one goal difference, which by the way is not that ridiculous because goal difference comes into conversations all the time. Right?
Always.
That one goal difference over a season can be the difference between earning £70 million by the halfway stage or by being the worst team in Europe.
If you win all your games, yes. You win all your games.
Manchester City have had a stinker. They're going to be out of the competition at the last 32 stage tonight, in all likelihood, in my opinion, unless they absolutely turn it around. And yet they will still have earned £68 million. The Euros, right?
Yeah, but that's the way. That's
Tottenham Hotspur that are qualified for the last 8. Manchester United that finished above us. Lazio that were the top of the Europa League. The only team, by the way, in that competition that didn't have to worry about what happened in January in the last 2 weeks, which is the reason why all the deadline day stuff was done on deadline day, was because most of the teams didn't have their security of the continuation of their participation sorted out. That stuff should not be recognised by the fact that you only get £28 million. And I'm not saying this as a Tottenham fan. I'm saying this as a fan of I
don't understand, but one's the Champions League and one is a lesser competition, and the one under that is a lesser competition.
How about this? We're going around in circles. We're going for 2 hours. One in the chat, if you think that there should be a better distribution of prize money. Distance yourself from Tottenham just as a fan of football. One, if you think that the distribution is weird and unnecessarily dislocated from the actual proximity.
Hang on 1 second, but I need some clarity here, right? You need some clarity here, right? You're saying it's wrong that you qualify for the Champions League and you can earn £70 million for finishing in fourth place, right? Okay.
No, what I'm saying is that
only £20 million for finishing in 8th or 7th place.
Yeah, but the extension of my argument, is that distribution of money in football is skewed.
Yeah, which competition, Sean?
All of them. It's fucked. All of them. It's fucked, mate. The best get wealthier. It creates it's like the Grand fucking Canyon that started out 20 years ago as a stream that was pottering through Nevada, and then over time has created a chasm that will never be closed unless the distribution of financial success is reorganized to create an interesting outcome. And as it is at the top end of the game and at the bottom end of the Premier League and in the Championship, you have this system where you have the same teams that win everything.
In Europe.
No, it's not. It all starts with prize money. It all starts with prize money. And those of you that are leaving out, you might hate me because you think that I'm not, but I am on your side when you say top 4 isn't a trophy. So if you are someone that thinks that the distribution of prize money creates a chasm that is ever expanding, whereby, and I'm not talking about the Slavia Pragues of this world that earn more than the Manchester Uniteds. I'm talking about the fact that a goal difference in the Premier League can result in one team earning 75 million and another team only getting 20. That equates to everybody that's not in Europe getting fuck all, by the way. Everybody that
didn't qualify, because you didn't qualify, because you didn't invest. Because look, when I see Slavia Prague earning massive amounts of money, right? Or Shamrock Rovers earning
I celebrate their wealth. I celebrate their opportunity.
I celebrate that.
I do. I celebrate it too.
Redistribution of money.
Johnny, this all comes back to why is it that Manchester City can do what they do?
Because you're talking a different argument, right? That's a different argument.
No, I'm not. It all comes back to money. It all comes back to money, Johnny.
No, you've got three or four different arguments. I'm sorry, you've got 3 or 4 different arguments all going on at the same time, right?
And they all are they are octopus. They are octopus tentacles that lead back to the big fuck off brain that is all about money.
We got an owner that contributed and committed in his commitment to get into the top 4, 42% on wages, right? 42%.
Now he's talking about a different story.
Right, no, come on. We're talking about ambition, right? Right? If you want to earn money,
Johnny, I'll let you land. I'll let you land on your. We'll bring it back to Levy, but just to get the ones and zeros. One, if you think the distribution of wealth is fucked. 0 if you think it's if you think it's okay. No, 1 for fucked, 2 for okay, 0 for okay. Go. Land it, people.
What you're doing, Sean, right? You're twisting it, right? Because that's not what I said. I said if you're talking about the redistribution of wealth in the Premier League, I agree, right? But you're talking about them earning £70 million or £50 million for being in the Champions League. That's a different argument, mate. It's a different argument.
Okay. Specifically, one's for the Champions League versus Europa League versus Conference League versus everybody else. If that is skewed towards encouraging boring outcomes, 1. 0 if you think it's okay. That's what is that fair, Johnny? Right, Champions League specifically, or European prize money specifically. One's if it's fucked, 0 if it's not.
I think the new setup is a success. You've got smaller clubs. Number 36 in the league, who would not normally have earned a bloody penny because they wouldn't have won any of the games in the top 4. Lucky if they come out with £1, you know? If they'd ever come out with £1, that's the thing, you know?
Johnny,
listen, mate. Money.
We got 2 zeros. I love you to pieces, Johnny, but I think this one leans my way, mate.
Yeah, because you're the fucking one that's calling it, mate, and you skewed the fucking argument. You skewed the argument completely, because I totally agree with you. I don't see there's anything wrong with the upsurge in money for the Champions League and the Europa League. I don't see there's a problem with it, but I think there is.
That's the question. Is the reward too much? Is what I'm saying. That's it. Well done, Bridzy. Is the reward too much?
So what, you want to have less reward in football? I
want there to be a more interesting league. I want there to be more interesting outcomes. When was the last time there was a winner of the Champions League that was not one of Inter, AC, Bayern,
because
Liverpool, Man United, Man City? No, I'm saying there's 8 teams that there's like 8 teams that. There's 8 teams that only ever win the Champions League. There's 5 teams that only ever win everything in the Premier League. There's 2 teams that win 75. It's boring. And money is the root of all of it. Money is the root of all of it. Money is the root of
Without money, mate, there's no football.
The rules could be changed to make the money go better.
No, but you and I, mate, listen, you and I have had this argument on which we totally agree on. right, which we 100% agree on, that the money, right, the ability that Man City had to get completely through spending as much as they like without any repercussions whatsoever, right? Without any repercussions, right? And now they're trying to change them once the horse has bolted. Once Chelsea and Man City have spent all that money, now they're trying to change the rules, right?
No, I agree with that. Yeah,
right?
the rules are fucked. The rules are fucked.
We're agreed
100%.
on that. But what I don't understand is why you're upset that a team that is in the Champions League under the new format, small clubs who have never earned any money historically.
I never said that.
You're only looking at the top of the dinner table, right?
I never said that.
At the bottom. But you're saying that distribution.
No.
You're saying the distribution's unfair, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. 100%. I am.
But what I'm saying to you is, what about the Slavia Pragues? What about the small teams at the bottom of the dinner table? You know, Carrier Bag, Mitterrand, all those who are earning far more money than would ever be possible under the old format. I don't understand what
the format's not that. The format's
you're
not that
talking about redistribution. What I'm saying is, you're talking about redistribution. What I'm saying is that these small clubs are suddenly going to have money that they never had before, which will enable them to potentially compete and be more competitive in Europe. And I think that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Distribution of wealth is a great thing in football, given where we are currently. It's not though. It's not when it comes to the difference being that one team and it's the same in every other league, by the way. It's the same in every other league. It's amplified in the Premier League, but it's the same on a smaller scale in every other league. Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain, as much as a lot of people want out their miners to come over here, that team is guaranteed to make 80 million euros every year from the Champions League. If you're a fan of Lens, of Lyon, of Montpellier, of Auxerre, like it's boring. It's boring in every league. When was the last time a German team outside of Bayern Munich, Dortmund, or Leverkusen, and Leverkusen only done it once? When was the last time that there was a Champions of Germany that wasn't one of those three teams? I don't know, but it was a long time ago. When did it happen in Spain? If it wasn't Barcelona, if it wasn't Girona, and that's a one-off, by the way, the exception to the rule, so don't use that as the rule because that's the exception.
What about Italy?
It doesn't happen, right? Portugal.
What about Portugal?
What about Italy? What about Italy?
There's loads of
teams. It's the same. It's the same story everywhere you go. The big teams are always there, and everybody else is participating for the scraps on different levels. Scraps in England is different to scraps in France.
That's the way football's been since time immortal. That's the way it's always been.
Make it more interesting. Wouldn't you like to see? Would you not like to see a scenario where there was a closer relationship? I'm not saying socialism, by the way. I'm not advocating for like a draft system like they have in America, which requires a closed loop, right? That requires a closed loop where basically everyone that wants to play the game has to be in a certain environment. You can't do that in football. It's a global sport. But wouldn't you like to see a scenario where there was, like, what would you say? Just quick answer. What would you say the percentage chance of Arsenal, any of those usual five, of getting relegated any season? 1%, less than 1%, something like that, right?
Yes. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? How are you?
I've lost you. Is that me gone or you gone? I can't hear you.
It's you. I can hear you.
That's me or you. Hang on a second.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hang on. Sorry. Who's gone? Is it me that's lost or you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Levy's fucked with me here.
The head of UEFA has come for you.
Oh, I've muted. No, Johnny, you're muted. Apparently, you're muted, not me. It's your side.
No, I'm not muted here. Hang on.
I can't even hear Johnny. The volume's fine. Johnny, you talk for a minute, mate. I've got to figure this out. You talk.
No, I'm not muted here. I'm fine. I'm not muted at all. That's unmuted.
Hang on a second. Oh, I got you. Yeah, we're back. So the point I was going to make, right? would you agree? I hope you would agree that there's a less than 1% chance that Arsenal.
Yeah, is that the head of UEFA? Yeah, I'm on the phone to Sean Butler as we speak. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's about the redistribution of wealth. I'll get him to contact you in the morning. Yeah, okay.
Wouldn't you like a scenario where there's like a 15% chance that a team that comes up might make it and become title winners? Wouldn't you like it where there's a 15% chance where a Man City might end up being relegated? Yeah, again, that's well, first of all, they weren't
I know, but hang on. You asked me, right? And I'm telling you, right? I don't personally care about German football. You know, I thought it was fantastic, you know, that Leverkusen won the title, you know, that Dortmund should have won the title the year before. It's great. But I don't care with a passion. You know, I look at the Italian league and I think the Italian league is competitive. I think it's more competitive than the French league, 100 for sure. For sure. I don't see, Sean, I understand what you're saying. It's a vast sum of money. But I think you're just looking at the top. And what I'm saying is there are many clubs who are in the competition. And let me tell you something. I read an article, I'll have to try and dig it out, about clubs that are in the trash league that we frown upon and look down on as British sports fans of the Conference League, that money is the lifeblood of the teams that are in it. You know, that
I celebrate that. I celebrate that.
I think it's a good part. What I'm saying to you,
I guarantee you the teams that qualify for that, league participate in leagues in the most part, right? No, I'm not talking about the Fiorentinas or the West Hams, but I'm talking about the teams that are out in Eastern Europe or Greece or wherever, where it is meaningful. But that distribution of wealth that they get from that means that they will continue to be dominant in their own leagues and creates boring outcomes in their own domestic league, which, by the way, is the lifeblood.
Which is how we started this conversation, which I started when I mistakenly said, by mistake, that Shamrock Rovers had made £10 million from being in Europe, which was a game changer for them. And Mason Melia from St. Patrick's, they felt, wow, we are going to be at a disadvantage now, which is the answer to your question. We must hang on for as much money as we can from Mason Melia and have a race, because there was clubs in Europe after him, Celtic were after him. So they ended up selling him for 1.9 million, up to 4 million. So they've narrowed that gap to 6 million, you know, between them and what's that? And they're going to retain the services of Mason Melia for another season. So it's a win-win all way round. So, yeah, listen, the disparity has always been there. I just
doesn't mean it should continue to be. Doesn't mean it should continue to be.
No, but I just think the disparity has always been there.
I would love to see a more frequent outcome where Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, Palace were knocking on the door. And I would love to see an outcome where Manchester City and Arsenal and Newcastle and Tottenham, for what it's worth, I'm not saying this is a Tottenham fan that's salty about not being involved in the big conversation right now. I'm saying this is a fan of football because we get to experience 9 months a year of football. And every year, with the exception of the Leicester year, 2017, it's been the same shit every single time. And I find it boring. It's boring at the top. It's boring at the bottom. And I guarantee you, if you go into most leagues around Europe, wherever you look,
are you in this
it's the same conversation.
I don't find it boring. Listen, I find it exciting that Bournemouth are doing as well as they are, right? And when you talk about disparity, what about the disparity with the parachute payments for teams that have dropped down into the Championship? You could say, look at that disparity. That's not fair. But how can you say it's not fair when, you know, you have to compensate them for dropping out the league and the wage disparity? But that disparity and that extra income that the teams are getting, whether it be Leeds or whoever, would mean that they have an advantage.
Okay, let's use the Scottish League. Let's use the Scottish League as an example.
Burnley, Sheffield United. I don't want to talk about Scottish League because that is like, you know, there is only
it's important, right? There's only two clubs. Would it not be better?
I'm talking about.
Would it not be better to bring them into the British League, all of them, right? Yeah, find their level and let them play into the British League. Would that not be better?
I'm not saying I wouldn't like that, but my conversation, which you switched up there, was about the fact that the teams that had the parachute payments into the Championship were Sheffield United, Leeds, and Burnley. And look at those three clubs now in the Championship. Sean.
Good luck, Pram. It's my channel, bro. Well, the Spurs Talk Show is football.
Yeah, no. Look at those three clubs. Look at the disparity there with those three clubs. They have a distinct advantage, which is why they sit at near the top of the league. But it doesn't mean that you can't get another Luton. Sorry, Luton were the one that dropped out. Beg your pardon. Luton, Leeds missed out. Sorry, but look where Luton are now. So even with all that money that they made, Sean, and with the parachute payment and the advantage that they had, they now look like they're going to drop out into League One.
Right.
So it doesn't always mean, having money. Yes, the disparity is there. It's always been there in the Premier League, which is why the redistribution of the money to grassroots and stuff. Look,
has it gone far enough? Has it gone far enough?
Do you really want the government getting involved, which is what Labour are talking about, getting the government in?
No, I don't trust the government. I don't care which government.
But what you're saying is what Labour want to do with the conversation about more money going down to the Championship and into League One and League Two from the Premier League. Okay.
No, I support that. I genuinely do support that.
But do you support the government getting involved?
No, because I think they literally, like, when people that pontificate and have high expectations of things that they have no control over, have expectations for outcomes that are wildly outside of the demonstration of what they do in their other jobs, their other walks of life. Like the people that work for the government that look at things in the private industry and say, it could be so much better, we need us to be involved to chaperone this. Those people can't get through a day without a skid mark on their boxer shorts, Johnny. Like, they make mistakes in everything they do. They are inept, inadequate. I mean, that's because in no small part, conspiracy theory time, I'm going to piss off another category of the UK world here, which is the politicians. It's because they're corrupt as well, because they're bought and paid for by people that get them into power in the first place. I don't know how you solve for it, but the inability to find an obvious solution does not mean that there's not a problem. The problem for me, football is a way of life for so many. It's 9 months of the year where twice a week or once a week you get to forget about whatever it is, the shit that you're going through in your life, and that you get to go, you know what, I'm going to park my attention span in the problems that I have, and I'm going to focus on the thing that I'm passionate about that I can't control. But at the moment, and it's not at the moment, it's been an ever-present since the Premier League began, there are 5 teams that win everything and 2 teams more likely down than ever. And there are the same scenarios at the bottom. And the Premier League at least acknowledge that, which is why the things you just mentioned around distribution of wealth is a thing that's gone towards helping out grassroots football and helping out the bottom leagues. I just don't think it goes far enough. I don't think it goes far enough.
But the Premier League is better than other leagues, right? Because we don't have. It's not Scotland, where there's 1 or 2, right? Or PSG winning every single year. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't have a problem with the Champions League. I really don't. And or the money. Look, we didn't play well enough, right? So we didn't qualify for the Champions League. Had we qualified for the Champions League, this is why I would still be saying this, mate. I've been saying it. I know you have. But what I'm saying to you is that's why our season, this whole season now, and our future over the next 2 years is going to depend on this Europa League game, this Europa League competition. Because should we win this competition by some miracle and get our players back, we will still earn less than Aston Villa. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Sean, right? If we don't win the competition, then we ain't earning nothing, right? We're going to be falling further behind because we're not going to be in any European competition. What I'm saying to you is it's a sliding doors moment. If we somehow manage to win the Europa League, we qualify for the very competition you're talking about, and we are guaranteed, even if we have a shit time, we are guaranteed a bucket load of money, right? Which is going to be a game changer for this club in attracting players, right? And having a higher quality. The whole scenario changes. Instead of playing, Elfsberg, managed by Father Christmas, we're going to have AC Milan, Real Madrid, or whoever coming to the game. 4 massive games at the stadium. No trying to sell them at 30 quid because no one wants to come. The whole financial scenario changes, and it's a game changer for us because I think someone like Cuti Romero, that's how you keep him. You get into the Champions
Johnny, what we are advocating for in that rhetoric is if you can't beat them, join them. And that is a sad indictment of a sport that touches billions of people around the world. It's a race to the bottom. I'm not a fan of it, and I won't be. Just quickly, Johnny, sorry. Lord Rodney Trotter, I know we don't, I know you obviously have a certain vibe towards me. You said last night the competition available to the top 8, 40 different teams have won those competitions last week. I'm guessing what you're saying by that is Conference League, Europa League, and Champions League, right? My idea of a conversation regarding who has won are competitions that everyone has the right to participate in. What you're advocating for there, I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but I'm not sure if you're also advocating for the Community Shield. When I hear Arsenal fans on various channels saying things like, you can't ignore the fact that we've won however many Community Shields or Charity Shields, that's not a competition that should count because only 2 teams can participate in it. When I use only the English League model, I do that because I talk about the cups that everyone starts in, and I talk about the top league, i.e. the Premier League, because everyone has the access to it. And for the purposes of like success in England, the Championship shouldn't count. League One shouldn't count because not everyone is going to be looking at that with the same vein, through the same lens. But when you're talking about the Europa League, the Conference League, and the Champions League, not many teams get to attempt to win it. Therefore, I don't think it's part of a reasonable argument. I take your point. I do take your point, but I don't think it's a fair point when this exact my point I was making earlier, the exact same scenario plays out in every other league in Europe. There's only a few teams that ever qualify from Italy, from Spain, from France,
how would you change
Germany, etc.
Change the Champions League and the other European League? How would you change that?
Well, the qualification to it is not a problem. I think that.
How would you change the wealth thing on
because it's wealth, it's distribution of wealth. I think that money in football is the problem.
I'm trying to understand. We're rewarding, so they're qualified, so they're going to be massively rewarded for qualifying. Why do you have a thing? If you win all your games, you earn more money than the person at the bottom who doesn't win any games.
Well, I don't know, like that team, I forget the name, is it Slavian Prague? I'm not sure who it is, Pilsner, whoever it is. The fact that they can qualify and then lose 7 out of 8 and draw 1, and then at the halfway stage when they're dumped out and they can focus on their own league, the fact that they earn more than the very best team in the Europa League is problematic for me. Not because I have a problem with them earning 20 million quid or 30 million quid and Man United only winning 20.
Distribution be? So I'm asking you, how would the distribution be? I'm not understanding. The Europa League, the Champions League is a far more elite competition.
Is it? I'm not sure it is, mate. I think if you watch the Europa League, it has more elite teams in it.
No,
hang on. You asked the question. Let me answer it. If you actually looked at the Europa League the last 2 years, the caliber of the games, the outcomes, and the level of football on display, was arguably better, or at least in similar vein. But the distribution between of attention, people were saying that the Europa League is the new Champions League because it has a far better caliber of football. It has a far closer outcome where you don't know what's going to happen. The Champions League inevitably has the cities of this world. Obviously, right now tonight you've got City versus Real Madrid in the last 16 qualifier, but that's a rarity. In the old system, it was the top 2 teams. You know who's qualifying before the group stages even commence.
That's why they changed it, Sean. That's why they changed it.
That's not why they changed it. They changed it because they wanted to make more money, Johnny.
Yes, because they put extra games in, but you wouldn't have got Real Madrid. But you wouldn't have got. I don't understand why you've got a problem with
money. Understand my argument. Money in football is the problem.
Without the money, there's no football. Without money, there is no fucking football.
It all comes back to money, and it all comes back to the inability to create rules that are worth the paper they're printed on. That's it. That's the argument. That's the argument.
Europa League is better than the Champions League, right?
I'm saying you could make the argument that the games have been more interesting 1,000% over the last 10 years.
About 1,000% because there's only 100.
And zeros. Ones and zeros, guys. Ones and zeros. Let me know.
Listen, look, I'll tell you one thing, Sean, right? I think this new format has been a massive success. Personally, I really do. And because Manchester City and Real Madrid's failure to win far more of the games, under the new format, they would have been qualified with about a month to spare. Here, they were still fighting to get through. So it was more exciting. It went down to the last game. How much more exciting can you be? And now, because of their inability to win the games, what we've got is Man City versus Real Madrid early doors.
I agree. No, I agree. I just listen. I actually like the new model.
Guys, I was only on for half an hour. Let's wrap it.
Yeah, let's wrap it. Let's wrap it up. This is not an argument we're going to settle today. Guys, smash a like if you haven't already. Smash a subscribe on Spurs Talk Show. But if you are here, then get yourself over to, and let me put it in the link one more time. Do us a favor. Johnny and I are right there. You can find us every single day together right there. Please hit the link there. Jump over and smash the subscribe. And Johnny and I will be back tomorrow. So no doubt have another 10-minute video that ends up being a 2-hour, 3-hour ordeal. We love you all. I'm not even sure if I called out the super chats. I've been so stuck into this, and I do apologize. Let's go. Keith Edwards. Please. Does the I'm sorry, Keith, mate. Sorry, buddy. Does the investment give them a seat on the board? Yeah, it would do. Yeah, 100%. It would do. Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much. And Lee Harvey, member for 13 months. Thank you very much for the support, my man. Winners of their league should only play
even more exclusive. Yeah, that would be even more exclusive, wouldn't it?
There is no clean solution. I just think that the absence of a solution does not mean that the problem doesn't exist. That's my summary. Guys, listen,
there is no solution.
The absence of an easy solution. You know, we could spend the next 10 days talking, and we will. You know, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to chew it over until we find the solution. Lock the doors. We're not going anywhere until we find out the right way to handle money in football, because for me, it is the root of all problems, but it's also the root of all solutions, no doubt. Johnny, where else can people find you, my man?
Ooh, Johnny H3232 on X. I'm streamed out, man. I'm streamed out. Insta, you can find me on Talking Tottenham 1882. Sean and I love each other, man. Right? I mean,
love you, man. Love you, absolutely, 100%.
We get heated at times because, listen, we don't want to be an echo chamber, right? Where we sit here and we agree with absolutely everything. That would be boring, just like Sean's vision of Premier League.
just like your continuation of the current system. Boring! Echo chambers are boring. The Premier League is an echo chamber right now. That's the problem.
Okay, guys. And listen, get on down to Football Inc. and give us a follow. And give us a follow if you are on Instagram on Talking Tottenham 1882. Sean, let's call it a wrap. Thanks very much. And I'm going to go and have a lie down. And I'm not a drinker, but I might go and find myself a
bottle. Love you all. Thanks very much for the attention this morning. And we'll see you later on. By the way, I'm back here at 7 o'clock with Jim from Oso Spurs and Craig Dearman, who you might know from Chris Cowlin's show. And we're going to be chewing over whatever's going on this afternoon. We don't know yet. I promise you we'll try and steer clear of this particular conversation. I'll say that for Johnny and I to continue. Like, subscribe, and comment on both channels. And as always, guys,